do that, please?
Yes, thank you, moderator. I'm going to do this by district. District 1, Adams.
Here.
Chase.
Here.
Lambert.
Here.
Luck.
Here.
Perry. Starkley. Thomas.
Here.
Eben. Oops, here, I know you're here. Osman. Osman. Washington.
Here.
Cologne.
Here.
Hanscom.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Here.
Salva. I heard it here.
Yeah, Salva's here.
Okay, good. Okay. Stevenson. Stevenson. Bailey.
I'm here. Did you hear me? I'm sorry.
Is that Stevenson? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on with my mic.
Okay. Bailey.
Here.
Gothier David.
Here.
Gothier Lauren.
Here.
Powers Kristen.
Here.
Powers Sean.
Here.
Whitehouse.
Here.
Cassieri. Cassieri. I see her. She's not saying it.
Here.
Thank you. Dean Shinbrot.
Here.
Katowski.
Here.
Wells. Wells. Whitney.
Wells is here.
Okay, thank you. Whitney.
Here.
Baker. Baker. Fitzgerald.
Here.
Baker is on. She was under attendees, so I just moved
Okay,
over.
thank you. Thank you. Flax.
Here.
Frickman.
Here.
Fortner.
Here.
Gustafson.
Here.
Richards.
Here.
Casper.
Here.
DeSilla Fleming. DeSilla Fleming. Crockett Hubbard. Jones.
Here.
Mello Miller.
Here.
Okay, you have 34. Is there anyone else that I missed?
I'm here.
I do believe
Osman's
Representative
here.
Osman. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Osman, thank you.
Sorry, I was having a little issues with my microphone.
Okay, gotcha down.
Merritt.
Merritt.
Merritt. Excellent, thank you, Merritt. That's 35, 36. You have 36.
Thank you. All right, we do have a quorum to begin the annual budget meeting. I will ask at this point for a moment of silence. And before we begin that, I just want to wish everyone a peaceful Passover and Easter. I want all of us to just take a moment, if we can, to think about the people who at this moment are fighting for their lives and the people who are caring for those people, both here in Groton, in Connecticut, and all over the world. So if we could have that moment of silence, and then we'll follow it by a pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Thank you. We'll have the pledge. Would Representative Flax like to lead us in the pledge? You can all unmute yourselves.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I pledge
Allegiance
To the flag
of the
United
States of
America,
America.
Republic,
which it stands,
to stand
nation,
a nation
God,
under God,
Indivisible.
liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you. I think there must be a knack for speaking in unison, but we haven't figured it out yet. So thank you. That was very good. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the 2020-214-2 RTM annual meeting for FYE 2021 of the town budget on this April 11th of 2020. And this resolution setting the RTM annual meeting date on the FYE 2020 town budget. Could you guys all mute yourselves, please? The resolution setting the RTM annual meeting date, whereas section 9.3.1 of the town charter requires the town council to determine the date for the annual budget meeting of the RTM. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the annual budget meeting of the RTM will be held on Saturday, April 11th, 2020 at 9 a.m. via Zoom meeting. And we are now convening that meeting. This is the portion of the of our agenda where citizens are allowed to petition this body. I don't believe we have that technical capability. Is that correct, Mr. Burt?
Correct. People sent messages in advance.
Okay, so we will skip to the communications. I will note a few I got, and if others could please relate the ones that they received, that would be helpful as at all. If I mention one that you also received, there's no need to mention it again. I did receive a word, Representative Salva is here, but he may be in and out. Representative DeCillier Fleming may be late joining us. Representative Osman is here. He may have to leave early. So those were those communications. I also received several communications from Robert Frink regarding the city highway budget. One from Marcel Dufrans regarding the North Stonington Bridge and promoting a $25,000 kind of fix for it, temporarily at least. Several again from Mr. Thomas Potter regarding the William Seeley School, and two from Ken Peters and his wife regarding the North Stonington Bridge. And that was asking for a complete repair of that bridge. Are there any other members? Raise your hand. Okay, I see Representative Gauthier. Could you relate your communications, please?
Myself and Representative Gauthier got an email from Mr. Potter, Thomas W. Potter, about the Pleasant Valley School development. He was just interested if there's any more information available. Also was seeking more information about the Seeley School development. I told him I'd inquire with the town manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else received I do believe Mr. Potter reached out to several other RTM members. If what I have said and Representative Gauthier has said encompass the communication, there's no need to repeat it. Representative Town Clerk McCousher.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just to go with what you're saying, I do have copies of all of the letters that you have mentioned, and they will be incorporated with this annual meeting minutes.
Thank you so much. All right, let's move on. Sorry. After this, we have our budget update from the town manager or the superintendent and the superintendent of schools. Is there anything to report, Mr. Burt, since Wednesday?
Nothing new to report.
Thank you. And now we have our committee reports. And so before we kind of get into these committee reports, I just kind of wanted to, we had a discussion on Wednesday that we tabled, actually a motion that we tabled. So I think the first thing we really need to do is reconsider these motions. And before we do that, I did want to bring up the idea of perhaps being able to, have our discussion be expedient and be courteous of time. There are parliamentary procedures to limit debate, and we can do that by reducing the length or number of speeches. If we want to actually call the question, that's a different motion, and I'm not proposing that here. But I am would entertain a motion to perhaps set out some temporary rules to limit the scope of debate today.
I'll make a motion.
Representative Mello-Miller.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion for all members to speak once on any motion and for a maximum of 2 minutes.
I second.
And we have a motion on the floor by Representative Mello-Miller. I wasn't quite sure who seconded that.
Dean Shinbrot.
Okay, and that was seconded by Representative Dean Shinbrot, and that is to have members speak up to 1 time per motion for a maximum of 2 minutes. And that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing none.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Representative Thomas? Oh.
No, Katowski?
Okay, Representative Katowski, you may speak
sorry,
and
I
then
didn't
Thomas.
get there fast enough. Yeah, the motion that we were talking about on Wednesday was regarding moving the town number in 1 vote.
That's correct.
What happened to that?
That's correct. We are going to take that up after that. This is just to frame the terms of debate. Thank you. Representative Thomas? Representative Thomas?
Yeah, I would just like to see that 2 minutes is a little brief. I think maybe 3 would be a little more, just allow a little more space.
Is that an amendment or is that just your opinion?
That's an amendment, yes.
So we would have to see if the maker of that motion accepts that amendment. Representative Mello-Miller, do you accept that amendment to 3 minutes?
Yes, that's fine.
The seconder, Representative Dean Shinbrot, do you accept that? Second? I mean, do you accept that amendment? Excuse me, early for me to. You can unmute yourself. Representative Dean Shinbrot? No. I don't believe that I can't seem to communicate with her. So the seconder of that motion did not accept it. So I think we'll go forward with the original motion, unless someone can communicate with that member. So we have a motion on the floor, and that is to limit debate to 2 minutes and have members speak once, up to once per motion for up to a maximum of 2 minutes. Is there any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor of that motion, please.
Madam Moderator.
Oh, okay. Representative Whitehouse. Okay. Representative Whitehouse.
So I'd like to propose an amendment to that to add an exception for recognition to make additional amendments and motions. Because if we can only speak once, if you speak early and then want to propose a new number or an amendment, then under this rule you couldn't speak a second time to propose that new number or amendment.
Yes, that's correct. Representative Casper. Well, that's an amendment. We'll have to see.
I'm proposing an amendment.
Okay. I'm not sure we'll be able to accept it because we're not able to get verification from the seconder of the original amendment. But
right, in that case,
Representative Mello-Miller, do you accept that amendment?
I don't.
No.
I think 1 per person per time.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to make that amendment as a motion.
You'd like to make a motion? So let's vote. All right. So that motion is to speak up to 2 times on it for 2 minutes maximum. Is that correct?
No, the motion is to add, with the exception of a member may speak a second time for the purpose of making amendments or motions.
All right.
Representative Lambert, second.
That was seconded by Representative Thomas. We have a motion for members to speak twice on issues. All in favor? Oh, is there any other discussion on that? I see people have their hands raised. Is that the Representative Casper?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't see how we can have under those circumstances. It's impossible to debate if you can only talk once and can't make a rebuttal to someone else's comments.
Thank you.
agree.
Please don't agree. Be recognized. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Representative Fortner?
The entire reason for doing this is to get it over with before anybody gets sick. So I would wholeheartedly support the first motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Thomas, you had your hand up, but I was assuming it was just you forgot to take it down. Did you want to speak on this motion?
Well, the point, I guess it's a point of order. I'm not sure, I mean, we weren't able to get the second to respond one way or the other on my amendment. And I don't understand how that could be fair, given it's a technological concern, if she wasn't able to be reached. I mean,
I'm trying.
Walk out of the room.
Well, maybe it's not fair, but technologically and parliamentary, I'm trying to do my best, and it wasn't accepted by the seconder. You could make a motion, but at this point we have a motion on the floor, so please keep your debate to this motion. Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We're not even at the meat and potatoes of this thing yet, and look how many struggles we're having with technology. This is going to be a very frustrating day, and I just hope you all consider what's happening right now when you vote on how we're doing this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Town Clerk McCousher.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think that for procedures we need to take everything very slowly, because I can see that Representative Dean Shinbrot is on the meeting, but she cannot speak. So maybe Town Manager, who's hosting, can unmute her. Oops, gosh.
I tried to unmute her and I was unable. Oh, there
I'm
she is.
here. I'm here. I'm not sure that everyone truly understands how long this process can actually take. This can go on 20, 25 hours if we're all not working as a cohesive unit. And I think given the circumstances of what's going on today in the world, in our country, in Groton, I think we need to really work hard and dig deep within ourselves and say, what can I live with? And let's move this process forward. These are unusual times. And no one is saying this is going to set a precedent for things to come in the future, but it is what it is today. And I think we need to look at that. I am not willing to entertain anything else but 2 minutes.
This is please raise your hand and be recognized. We are not speaking on our own. It will be chaos if that's how we do it.
I can't get the video.
No one has video.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you want your hand up, Representative Baker?
I just wanted to make sure that you were able to hear me.
We sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Mello Miller.
Thank you. I'd like to call this to a vote. If there is any confusion about the motion at present, that's a different circumstance. But again, we are asking for once on any motion for a maximum of.
That's not the motion on the floor. We have a different motion on the floor, an amendment to that. The motion that we're considering is.
Call it to a vote.
Are you trying to call the question? Is that it?
Yeah, call the
That's
question.
non-debatable. Is there a second for that?
Second, Fortner.
We have a motion to call the question by Representative Mello Miller. It's been seconded by Representative Fortner. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Point of order. It hasn't been 10 minutes.
I'm accepting it. It's up to the moderator. Any opposed?
Yes.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Oppose.
Jesus.
All right, can we have a roll call on that, I guess, Town Clerk? At least on the nays. If you voted nay, can you say your names?
Chase.
Washington. Casper.
Thomas.
Katowski.
I have Washington, Casper, and Katowski. Was there anyone else?
Chase.
Thomas and who else? Chase. Washington, Casper, Katowski, Thomas, and Chase. Do you have any others, Town Clerk?
That's what I have.
Okay, that motion passes. We have a motion on the floor, and that motion is Gesundheit. That motion is for a limit of 2 minutes with members allowed to speak twice on any, up to twice on an item with a second speech for making a motion solely, is my understanding. Representative Whitehouse, please correct me if my interpretation was wrong. I don't have this in writing.
Well, yes. So this is an amendment to change
I
the
understand
current
that,
motion to be
yes.
that. I just want to make sure everyone
Exactly.
understands. This is not the motion. This is the changing the motion
Okay,
that will then
yes,
vote.
exactly. Exactly. This is an amendment. I was trying to capture your, I think I've captured it because I was corrected on other items then. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye.
Katowski.
Groton Schindrat.
I think, Town Clerk, can we get a roll call on that, please? Sorry. I don't think this is going to be tenable.
Would you repeat
Can you
the
read the
motion,
amendment again,
please?
please?
I'll repeat the motion, sure. The motion was an amendment. Can people please mute themselves? There's echo. And if you have headphones, I please recommend wearing them. The motion was an amendment to a motion made by Representative Mello Miller. The amended motion was to allow a maximum of 2 minutes speech for any member per motion and to speak at least twice with the second recognized speech being for the purposes of making an additional motion. That is the motion we're voting on. Could we please have a roll call vote on that amendment to the original motion?
Okay, here we go. Adams?
No.
Chase?
No.
You, Miss Bailey?
I'm sorry, but I'm doing this by district, not in alphabetic order. Okay, thank you. Lambert?
Yes.
Okay. Luck?
Yes.
Perry? Oops, not here. Starkley? Not here. Starkley? Is Starkley here?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
But
Merritt?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Eben?
no.
Osman?
No.
Washington?
Yes.
Cologne?
No.
Hanscom?
Yes.
Foster?
No.
Rusk?
Yes.
Selva?
No.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Bailey?
No.
Gauthier David?
No.
Gauthier Lauren?
No.
Powers Kristen?
Yes.
Powers Sean?
Yes.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Cassieri?
Yes.
Dean Shinbrot?
No.
Katowski?
No.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Blacks?
No.
Crickman?
No.
Fortner,
No.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Casper,
No.
DeSilla Fleming. Oops, he's still not here. Okay. Jones,
No.
Mello Miller.
Oh, that's not
No.
fair.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Time.
That's 18 no.
Oh, God.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 19 yes.
That motion passes. So now we have an amended motion on the floor that we'll vote on. That is to limit time to 2 minutes with a maximum of 2 times speaking per motion. The second time being solely for the purpose of making an additional or different motion, an amendment or additional motion. All in favor of that, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
No. Yes.
Yes. Opposed.
Opposed. Chase is opposed.
Dean Shinbrot.
Adams opposed.
Casper.
Katowski opposed.
Fortner opposed.
Mello Miller opposed.
Town clerk, do we need to have a roll call on this?
No, but again, if you could clearly state the no, just the names, please, one at a time. And I'll signify by saying I got it. So go ahead.
Adams, no.
Dean Shinbrot, no.
Fortner, no.
Chase, no.
Katowski, no.
Miller, no.
Casper, no.
Baker.
Yes.
Is that a yes you do or yes you don't?
No, yes,
No.
yes.
Okay. Chuck, I see that Crockett Hubbard is here now. That's great.
Just forget it. Don't pick up.
Town clerk, did you hear me? Mello Miller, no.
Thank you. No, I didn't.
Merritt, no.
Crockett Hubbard, no.
Okay, I'm going to read what I have. Adams, Chase, Dean Shinbrot, Casper, Fortner, Mello Miller, Katowski, Merritt, Crockett Hubbard. Did I miss anyone?
Wells says no.
Oh, there we go.
He suggests before.
All right, that motion, please put your on mute or I'll have to mute everyone, which is painful. That motion fails. I mean, that motion passes, excuse me. I believe are we at 36 now, Town Clerk?
37.
37, so it passes 27 in favor, 10 opposed, is that correct?
Correct. 11 opposed, excuse me. 11 opposed.
11, sorry. 11 opposed, so it's 26 in favor, 11 opposed. Is that correct?
Any abstentions?
Were there any abstentions?
You know, a motion like this should not have an abstention because it's, you know, you really know an abstention would be considered a no vote.
That's true. But I think that motion passes. It does not need a supermajority, which it had anyway. So thank you. We can now take up the motion that we had on the floor on Wednesday night. The maker of that motion, I believe, was Representative Flax, and there had been several amendments. I'm not quite sure where we were. Representative Flax, would you like to reiterate your motion?
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
I would like to make a motion to move the town council FTE 2021 funds total number as detailed in the RTM FYE 2021 budget spreadsheet of $147,616,433. And after the second, I could briefly state why.
Bailey seconds.
I already did. Yep.
So we have a motion on the floor to put forth a number of $147,616,433. It's been made by Representative Flax and seconded by Representative Bailey. Representative Flax, would you like to explain that motion?
I will. Thank you, Madam Moderator. There are several reasons why. I'll just list them. The RTM committee is meeting on April 4th with the town department heads and town mayor did not change any departmental account or CIP proposed to council. The unusual circumstances caused by this crisis surrounding the town, state, and country, the technical challenges posed with a 41-member body via a video meeting, the exceptional job the town council did vetting the departments and accounts with the help director of finance and the town manager, and the department heads and subdivisions not in attendance today, and the fact that it would be, for lack of a better word, unable to change a number without the department input. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this motion? Let's see, Representative Thomas.
Yeah, one thing in particular is not necessarily, I think we just need to commit to having a roll call vote on everything, just as a side
Please
note.
keep that's a point of order and that's taken.
Understood. As far as the number goes, I think that I'm opposed to doing the one large number. I think there's a better way to do it as far as going by committee. So there is some opportunity to speak to each. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Whitehouse.
A couple things. So first, I've been looking through my emails. I thought that the minutes were sent out or something was sent out so we'd know all the town council numbers. I'm not finding that. That could just be me.
It's just you because
okay.
the town clerk did send.
Okay.
It was an email with about 6 attachments.
Okay. Yeah,
more.
there's a lot of emails there, so I'll dig through and find it. What is the current state of the Stonington Bridge allocation? Is that at 0?
That is at 25,000.
Okay. Because I would like to propose an amendment to pull out the Stonington Bridge CIP and vote the rest of the budget as one.
Second. Representative Rusk.
Is that accepted by the maker of that, or is that going to be a motion? Representative Flax, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I do.
Representative Bailey, do you accept that as the seconder?
I second, yes, please.
This is John Bird. Just so you know, a couple numbers will change based on if Stonington Bridge's funding changes. So maybe the motion could say, I guess Cindy with me, maybe you could say with it, something about with changes, something that says if any changes are made, that this will be updated, that the appropriate numbers will be updated, something like that.
My amendment is just that we will actually discuss the bridge, but everything else would pass.
Well, that's the thing is even if you change it at all, you're gonna have to go back and change a couple numbers. I'm just saying if you can make it so that we have authority to make the appropriate changes.
Oh, okay, yeah, but what he said.
All right. I don't know the exact number. It's basically 100. Let's have more discussion on this. This motion has been accepted. The motion that has been amended by Representative Whitehouse has been accepted by Representative Flax and the second to Representative Bailey. And that is to vote on the total number of $147,616,433, all accounts with except for the $25,000 that would be allocated for the North Stonington Bridge. and with the caveat that some changes may need to be made to some of the numbers in the finance account, I believe, to if the North Stonington number changes. Is that correct, Mr. Burt?
Can I speak?
Yes, but Cindy would like to say something.
Yeah, yes, Miss Landry.
Good morning. I just want to make sure that, I don't know why this is doing that. I hear the echo, I'm sorry. The $147 million number that combines the general fund and all of the funds together. If there are any changes made related to the North Stonington Bridge, that number will have to change in two places. The general fund number will have to change, as well as the capital projects number will have to change. So I just want to make it clear that even if that 147 passes and then you change that bridge, you're going to have to take another vote on a different number.
Okay. Is there is the language of that motion broad enough to allow for that to happen, or would a second vote have to occur? Town Clerk, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the amendment that Representative Whitehouse made and Mr. Burt added a little bit of the language to include, to make the appropriate adjustments. I think that's fine, the way it's written. That's the way I wrote it.
Okay.
That can work.
Okay, thank you. Representative Fortner, did you want to speak on this amendment?
Yes, I am in total support of what Representative Flax said. He spoke very eloquently about the reasons we need to do it this way. And I wanted to remind the RTM members that in order to get down to a zero increase budget, which I was hoping for, we'd have to cut over $1 million. So I think we've got a pretty clean budget here, and I would support taking it as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Richards.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I was wondering if the town manager could just review for us to have in our minds as we think about this, based on the town council approved budget, what is the dollar amount in % increase over last year's budget, and how would that affect the mill rate?
Cindy's getting the amount, but it's a 0.29 mil increase, meaning for every $100,000 value, there'd be a $29 increase. And to cut $1 million out, you're gonna have to probably spend days looking honestly through every budget. It's a 1.1% increase over 2020. The new number for the general fund would be $130,453,984.
Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you, Representative Stevens. Excuse me? Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, I fully support moving this number. I don't want to reiterate and waste everyone's time, but these are unusual circumstances. I know we have looming in the back of our minds not too long ago the referendum to try to get rid of the RTM, and I think a lot of people are weighing that pretty heavily on their minds. But again, this is literally not even once in a lifetime or once in a generation. This is once in a century, and we have the bizarre honor of living through it, and I think we should consider that. And I would just like to also quickly add that if we do not have some sort of fast tracking in place for this, I cannot see myself with the patience or wherewithal to put up with this entire thing for 12 hours once, let alone twice. So I will probably step out if we do not fast track. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Representative Wells?
Yes, I entirely support Representative Flack's motion. And it seems as though we have to go back and make a few changes. So I'm assuming that at the end of this process, we will be able to vote to reconsider items in the budget. So if there's anything that really gets people, they can propose that we reconsider.
That was not the motion, Representative Wells, but.
What? No. I mean, I'm not saying making any changes. I'm just saying I support Representative Flack's motion. And that from what they said, we have to change some items that we may be able to propose reconsidering things at when we're all done. We will have to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Dean Shinbrot.
Sorry, had to unmute. I just want to say I certainly support Representative Flax, and I think that each committee does their due diligence to come up with the number that they do, and we have to have faith that they did the right thing. I think we all try the best we can. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Katowski, did you want to speak?
Yes, please. I'd like to say that I support Representative Flack's first motion, and I do not support the amendment. I think that the $25,000 is ample, and I think that it's not, call it fair to just pull out one account. Thank you.
So Representative Katowski, the motion was accepted as a friendly amendment, so we're not voting on those separately. We're voting on one motion, which is to pull that out, just to clarify. Representative Whitney?
I do not support the motion. I think we should at least go committee by committee. And as we do that, I don't either want to sit here for 12 hours. I think it'd be wise at some point. We can always vote to, postpone till later to pick it up a second day. And I think this might have the unintended consequence of having an amorphous budget discussion, because you can always have 3 numbers on the table. And so everyone's going to go through their projects that they want cut or added. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mello Miller.
Thank you. May I ask the town clerk a question about how we would proceed with this amendment? Is that possible?
Sure.
Okay. Town clerk, if we do proceed with this motion, do we still have to read the committee minutes, or will we just vote on the number?
Well, my opinion would be that the committee minutes need to be read no matter what, because they have to get into the record. Just to say that we all have them and we've all read them, if we had a vote to accept them as received, that would be appropriate also. But that's up to the moderator and the body. But I need to get those minutes I have to get the minutes into the record.
Okay, so regardless, we're going to have to read the committee minutes or make a ruling, or the moderator is going to have to make a ruling to just put them in. That's what I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Does everybody understand that the moderator may make a motion to accept the minutes as received? I hope so.
And that would be as without being read.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's not a motion. I think I make a motion.
Well, I would certainly accept the minutes as received, depending on the outcome of this vote. So that seems doable.
Well, when we get there, you'll do that then. Thanks.
Yeah. Representative Cologne.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if we could just move towards the vote at this point.
I still have people who have their hands up. Are you calling the question?
Yes, I wanted to call the question.
I'm going to use my discretion. Well, let's have that vote, I guess. 2/3 vote. I do have one person who has their hand still up. So we will, this is not debatable and it's a 2/3. Could we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Adams?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
Luck?
No.
Merritt?
Yes.
Thomas? Thomas?
No.
Eben?
No.
Osman,
No.
Washington, Washington. Unmute her.
No.
Cologne,
Yes.
Foster,
No.
Hanscom.
No.
Oops. Almost gave you the wrong one. 3, 7, 8. Rusk,
Yes.
Salva. Yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
hang on, please. Gothier David,
No.
Gothier Lauren,
No.
Powers Kristen,
Yes.
Powers Sean,
Yes.
Whitehouse,
No.
Cassieri,
No.
Dean Shinrot,
Yes.
Kotowski,
No.
Wells,
Yes. Yes.
Whitney,
No.
Baker,
No.
Fitzgerald,
No.
Flax,
No.
Brickman,
Did you get me? Sorry, did you get me?
No, what did you say?
Yes.
Fortner,
Remember to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I am confused now.
We are calling the question. It's means that we're going to be voting
Yes.
on.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes.
thank you. Gustafson,
Yes.
Richards,
No.
Casper,
No.
DeSilla Fleming.
She's not here.
Okay, she's still not here. Crockett Hubbard,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Mello Miller.
Yes.
Okay, you move the. Okay, oh boy. I have 19 no's, and this can't be right. Damn it.
I didn't vote. This is Representative Lambert. My vote is no.
Okay, your vote is no. Okay, there we go.
So 20 opposed. That
Yeah.
motion fails.
Correct.
So Representative Casper, did you want to speak to the original motion?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, I was the one that made the amended, who at the other meeting, Wednesday's meeting, made the amendment to go by committee. I'm willing to forego that and will support the amended proposal that's on the floor.
Thank you. So I see no more motions, hands up. So I think we can move to a vote on this. Excuse me? Is there someone who wishes to speak? Representative Chase?
Can you please read the motion before we take the vote?
Town clerk, could you read it, or would you like me to try? Representative Kotowski, you already spoke on this motion. I'm sorry. We're limited to.
I don't have my hand up.
Okay, good, good. It's sometimes goes bright. It's kind of like I guess it's, I don't know.
This is Representative Whitehouse Fortner amendment, modified slightly by the town manager, that the council number minus, you were going to take out a CIP for the North Stonington Road Bridge, and vote on that separately. So that's the amendment that I have.
Point of order.
With the,
I believe that amendment was accepted as a friendly amendment.
exactly.
Correct.
That's the motion we're voting on. It was asked to be read.
Right.
So we're voting on the whole motion now because
exactly,
Okay.
Correct.
Just want to make clear.
Okay. And with the caveat, town clerk, that there would be some appropriate changes to the capital project account and possibly the general fund account, depending on the outcome of that North Stonington Bridge vote.
That's my understanding, which was explained by the town manager and finance director.
Thank you. So if we're on that page, I think we're ready to have a vote. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, a point of inquiry, just to be clear. If this passes, we pass the whole budget, correct? Except for the bridge.
Correct.
Hold on, no, that we're voting on the motion. The motion for the
motion was accepted. It was a friendly amendment, and it was accepted by Representative Flack. So we do not have to vote on the motion, on the amendment separately. As Representative Whitehouse just clarified, we are voting on the entire motion.
Exactly, but again, I don't want people to think that you're voting on the budget yet. You're just voting on procedure.
That seemed like a budget item to my mind.
Yeah, you're voting on the budget.
This was a number that was moved.
Okay. All right, we're going to vote on it. Adams, yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Point of inquiry?
Was this?
Are we actually voting a budget number?
That's correct.
Right
That was
now?
the motion. That's the motion on the floor. Shall we reread it?
Yep. You need the number on that.
Repeat the motion.
Please repeat it.
I can try again. The motion on the floor was made by Representative Flack, seconded by Representative Bailey, and it was amended by Representative Whitehouse. And I don't know who actually seconded that. Casper, was it? Fortner, and it was seconded by Representative Fortner. And that motion is to move the town council bottom line number, and then with that, without the North Stonington Bridge at 25,000, and to address that CIP issue in a separate vote. That number would be passed with appropriate and necessary changes to the capital project account number, as well as the general fund number, if and when the North Stonington Bridge number changed. Is that clear to everyone? Where a number has been moved? It was $147,616,433 minus the $25,000 that now exists in the budget for that North Stonington Bridge CIP.
Another point of inquiry or order. Is this pertained? Can we still have up to 3 numbers on the floor at a time?
No.
Amended numbers?
No,
Why not?
because we're not doing an account. There was a motion on the floor to move this number.
Anytime we do budgets, we always can have 3 numbers on the table.
Okay, I don't even know who this person is who's speaking because you weren't recognized, and I don't have magic eyes to know who's speaking. So please raise your hand. Is this Representative Lambert? Because it doesn't sound like it. Who has his hand raised?
It was Representative Whitney.
Representative Whitney, please raise your hand and be recognized because I don't know who is speaking. I don't recognize everyone's voices. I apologize. Are you raising your hand? Would you like to go? I will just start calling on people. Representative Lambert?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a question regarding the vote that's about to occur. If we are able to first vote on the bridge, discuss the bridge, then we would have a number to vote on the budget entirely. Is there parliamentary wise, could we do that?
You repeat that? Sorry.
Discussing the bridge and having the number for the bridge prior to voting on the budget number so that we could have a solid number. To do that, would we have to make a motion to discuss the bridge now?
You could certainly see if it could be a motion, or you could ask the maker of a motion, Representative Flax, if you would accept a friendly amendment to change the order of those two votes that he identified.
Representative Flax, do you accept a friendly amendment of discussing the bridge prior to moving the total budget number so that we could have a number, so that we understand the number that we're actually voting on for the budget?
Thank you, Representative Lamb. I'm trying to think that I understand what you're saying.
This is John Burr. I think you already called the vote. I don't think you can make a motion at this point.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I did call the vote, that's true. So I would ask for a roll call vote at this point.
Okay. Okay, I have to jump in here. I'm sorry that I'm as confused as some members are. I thought that when, at the beginning of this, Representative Flax we were discussing procedure. That's what we were doing last Saturday. It was discussing procedure. I did not understand that this was your entire budget vote. This was a procedural vote. But now I'm understanding that this is the entire budget vote, which you confused me. Moderator?
Well, that was my understanding when I heard the motion, since it had a number attached to it. And I think that was the understanding of the person who made it, Representative Flax. That motion on Wednesday night wasn't reduced to writing. So to tell you the truth, that was the gist of what I heard him wanting to say. I did call the question. We had finished all the hands that were up at that point, and
I'm
so
ready to take your call, the roll, if you're ready.
thank you.
Representative Adams,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
Chase,
No.
Cologne,
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard,
Yes.
Dean Chinbrot,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
No.
Flax,
Yes.
Ortner,
Yes.
Frickman,
Yes.
Gauthier David,
Yes.
Gauthier Lauren,
No.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Hanscom,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Katowski,
No.
No. No. She said no.
I'm taking a roll. Please don't speak until I call your name. Lambert,
No.
Luck,
Yes.
Mello Miller,
No.
Merritt,
Yes.
Osman,
Yes.
Powers, Kristen,
Yes.
Powers, Sean,
Yes.
Richards,
No.
Rusk,
Yes.
Salva,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Thomas,
No.
Washington,
No.
Wells,
Yes. Wells is a yes.
Whitehouse,
Yes.
Whitney,
No.
Okay.
This is Rep. Foster. I was never called to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Foster, I missed you.
Yes.
Foster.
And you didn't call on me either, Betsy.
I hadn't gotten to you
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
You're the last one. You're supposed to be the last, and I was doing it by district, and it really worked better by district, but unfortunately. And you said no, Foster?
Yes.
I said yes.
Oh, you said yes, okay. All right, 25 yes and 26 yes. 26 yes. And Evan?
I'll vote. I think I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Okay, so that's 26 in favor, 10 opposed, and 1 abstention.
So that motion carries 26 in favor, 10 opposed, 1 abstention, and that motion did move a number for all accounts except for the CIP for the North Stonington Bridge. So I will, if you can look in your books, we will move on to that number. And I will tell you what number that is in 2 seconds. North Stonington Bridge is page 218, and it's CIP 1F. I would ask Representative Dean Shimbrat, who is the chair of the Public Works Committee, to read her minutes, if that was possible, to let us know what the deliberations were on this account.
It sure is. I need to bring them up on another computer. Hold on.
And
There was 17 pages of notes for Public Works.
That's fine. And before we start that, I just wanted to say that the moderator does accept the minutes that have been submitted into the record of this meeting. Is that adequate, Town Clerk?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Madam Moderator, I apologize for stepping in. May I make one minor correction to mine?
Sure.
Representative Adams was actually present, but her microphone was muted, and that is not reflected in my notes. So there's 1 abstention on account 1024 and 1 abstention on account 1091 to adequately represent that Representative Adams was in attendance, but that her microphone was muted. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll accept those as amended, then that would be great.
Oh, come on. Okay. Should I speak now?
Sure.
Okay.
So please mute your mics if you're not Representative Dean Shimbrat. Thank you.
The discussion just before I begin the notes was quite lengthy. And so please bear with me. Representative Fortner moved the town council number of $25,000 and it was seconded by Merritt. And then Representative Wells moved another number of the full amount of $1,233,000. Moderator Evans asked Representative Wells to look in his book to understand what was going on. And Representative Casper seconded Representative Wells. Representative Wells said the last time the RTM had an opportunity to vote on this project was a couple of years ago, and that at that time the Stonington First Selectman appeared before the Groton Town Council. It passed the Stonington Board of Finance and the Groton Town Council zeroed it out. It came before the RTM but did not get a 2/3 majority. He felt as though that if it came before the RTM and we got a reasonable majority in favor, we might convince Stonington to come along with us. We're a long way from the end of May and we might be able to get the council to come along. By the way, the last time they put in the budget, pardon?
Please allow Representative Dean Shimbrat to continue. Thank you.
The last time it was in the budget, we left the Stonington standing at the altar, and they remember that. It was the Board of Finance meeting, and I stood and mentioned that it was in the manager's budget, and they were snippy about it because the last time it was in the manager's budget, the town council zeroed it out. Having been left at the altar, I don't think they're going to go first anytime soon. Hold on, bear with me here. I lost my spot. Representative Casper said I think there's another option available. I've suggested to several people, and perhaps a single lane bridge, perhaps used only for emergencies, might be a less expensive alternative. In the 1940s, the U.S. Army was using Bailey Bridge made of galvanized steel that bolts together, and they could do this in days with that to make that kind of a bridge. According to the fire chief, this was an option 10 years ago. Representative Wells said it came up in regard to the Groton Long Point Bridge when they were afraid the bridge would collapse and everyone would die there. The public works director said that we could bring in a temporary bridge in a day or two. Representative Fortner agreed with Representative Wells and said this is the worst year ever to do these kinds of capital projects, but it's been 10 years. I went over there and it's a tiny little bridge and incomprehensible to me that it would cost this much to fix it, but it's not my forte. Something has to be done. It's never going to be a good time. I think we do have to make a step forward and hopefully lead the way with Stonington walking behind us. If you live there and you've been looking at this bridge for the last 10 years, it's absurd. So I agree with Representative Wells. We do need to do something. Representative Merritt said, I have mixed thoughts about this and this $1 million figure. Is that what we are going to put up? Is Stonington going to get into that also? Town Manager Burt said the 1.2 million is the total cost. About half is state funding and the rest would be half and half with the town of Stonington and Groton. However, it depends on how you break this up. And we would probably need another $50,000 or $60,000 on our end. Representative Merritt said we are nowhere near the final figure for the cost of the bridge. Town Manager Burt said we have a cost for the whole bridge, but it would cost about $50,000 to $60,000 more than we figured. I believe that was based on the state formula. Well, this has been going on 10 years, and while I don't want to slight Stonington or the town of Groton for the use of the bridge, on one hand, it's a viable bridge, but on the other hand, is there any documentation on how viable it needs to be? Town Manager Burt asked what he was looking for, and Representative Merritt said documentation on the need for this bridge over the past 10 years. Mr. Burt said nothing that we've been seeing so far. Greg asked if Greg Hanover had anything to add, and Mr. Hanover said there have been no studies done on the actual need for the bridge. Representative Merritt then asked if something could come from the fire chief or had come from the fire chief. Representative Hammer said the fire chiefs and residents have been asking for 10 years, but there's been no formal study done. Representative Merritt said, well, that would be from any documentation that would prove a need for it, prove worthy. You can say we need to get here or there, but is it a necessity? Was time added onto response time due to the lack of a bridge? I'm trying to put this into. Dean Shinbrot said, in other words, has this proved out that it was necessary over the past 10 years? Merritt said over the past 10 years, this emergency department asking for this, and sometimes they are able to prove what they want. Casper asked if there was a need. Okay. As far as needs go, it's been 100 years since we need to be prepared for a pandemic, but the need is now. Also, I don't think there was any consideration for a single lane bridge. Someone's mic is not muted. Moderator Evans said, I want to make 2 points. One, there was a recent letter to the editor by a former town councilor suggesting there might be a utility relocating a fire hydrant or a new fire hydrant on the Groton side of the bridge. So I was curious, Mr. Burt, if you could weigh in on that. Second, I just wanted to remind everyone, there's a motion for $1,233,000, as Mr. Burt said. Half of that would be state and less than a quarter of that amount would be Stonington. So Groton would be taxed on less than the full amount. And she asked if Mr. Burt had any information on the fire hydrant. Mr. Hanover said the fire hydrant is located on Route 27. To bring it over to Old Mystic would either have to go up Route 27 or, oh, sorry, I messed up. It would be very expensive. We also looked into a pedestrian bridge and hanging a water main off of that on North Stonington Road. it becomes almost as expensive as the bridge. Anything less that we do as a bridge, we lose our state funding, which is 50% of the project. Representative Wells said the other issue is making a permanent dead end out of North Stonington Road on the Groton side. We don't have the land on the Groton side. We're looking at a cost equal to paying for an entire bridge ourselves. I guess we could suggest continuing the road to Route 184. Also, the area is a floodplain. There's just no less expensive alternative. And it's Groton's problem more than Stonington's problem. Mr. Hanover was asked if there could be a cul-de-sac. He said they could put a simple T-turn to work within the existing right-of-way. Representative Wells said right now we have oil trucks backing through the intersection either into North Stonington Road, and asked if you could go down and see if you could get around there without turning around in someone's driveway. Moderator Evans said if you wish to recognize them, there were three. Oh, sorry, we don't need that. Representative Councilor Heed wanted to advise the RTM that Groton has been attempting to coordinate with Stonington so we could fund at the same time. John Burt has been leading the effort. They have declined this year, that is Stonington, and last year. So last year we removed it entirely from the budget. This year, my understanding was we were going to fund our portion of the bridge so they could have 5 years to fund their portion. But when they did not find it, but with COVID-19 crisis came out, we decided that we would not fund it. It was not a unanimous vote, so I can only speak to my own reasoning. I thought if we fund it this year, the money would just sit. But even if you restore it to the original town manager number, it would not be funded this year because Stonington isn't going to fund theirs. But I refer back to John Burt. Mr. Burt said Mayor Granatowski and I both had dialogue with the first selectman in Stonington and have been told it's really a Groton problem. I think even if we fund it, I don't think there's much of a chance of Stonington funding their portion. I spoke, Dean Shinbrat, said when I chaired this committee 3 or 4 years ago, we had appropriated the necessary money to repair the bridge. Stonington was telling us they were going to appropriate their money and they backed out each time. I'm very hesitant given what is going on right now, and I think that money would be better spent somewhere else if we need to spend it at all. I think a bridge is a nice thing, but after 10 years, I think we can kick the can down the road 1 more year. If we're doing it with the town fleet vehicles and some of the other things, we can do it with the bridge. Councilor Bordelon said, I want to say, speaking for myself and myself only, I saw this issue when I was on the RTM and when I knocked on doors this year. I found it was a huge concern and I believe it needs to be fixed. I wanted to state I didn't think it was right to allocate money, no money, but I didn't want the full funding knowing that Stonington was not going to fund theirs. And I don't think it was fair to the taxpayer to have a large sum of money sitting there, making our taxes go up, knowing that there would be no action on this bridge with Stonington, stating that they're not funding this year. I wanted more than $25,000 to make the area safe and put up a barrier and fence, and also takes down the metal beams, which are a concern. Children go down there, they can fall and jump. All of these things, the way they were set, things have to be done in order to build the bridge. So this is a step in the right direction, but we're not using a large sum of money. The $25,000 gets the beams removed and makes it safe. Councilor Melendez weighed in and said, I wanted to state that the other 2 councilors had said, and I don't want to tax people and have the money sitting there for a full year. I would like to ask the manager, I know there are plans to meet with Stonington this year, and the town manager said there are no formal plans to meet. My intent is to reach out to them. If something comes up in the middle of the year, of course, we could look at the fund balance and go through the process. Councilor Baumgardner weighed in and said I was in the minority supporting the bridge funding. My remarks, Mr. Wells. We have heard countless testimonies explaining the importance of the bridge, most obviously in the interest of public safety. The council made a significant reduction in this proposed budget, which is obviously important to hold the line on spending. At the time, we just didn't know with COVID-19 pandemic. That being said, I would have to agree, if not now, when? I do agree we need to meet with Stonington about the bridge, but we have to put our money where our mouth is. We don't want to leave them at the altar. We have made so many reductions to the budget already, but we need to fund this project. We owe it to the people of Old Mystic. Mayor Granatowski weighed in and said, I've been sitting back and trying to be an observer, but I felt I need to speak up. There were questions earlier about the need for the bridge and whether there was expert testimony. We need to have the experts weigh in on this, and the fire chief has written rather eloquently and spoken to the need for this response time. It's a matter of being able to get the vehicles in there. Representative Wells spoke to vehicles being able to get in and out, and not just emergency vehicles. As to whether the money should be allocated now or not, although we appropriate the full amount, we only are taxed for our portion. At this point, I think our portion would come to in at about $350,000 to $360,000. I know it says $318,000 in your book, but there was to be a slight increase. This is not the issue at this point. The issue is that we need to do what we need to do this in the next few years. We can't control what we did in the past or what Stonington did in the past. We can only control what we do now. And in my opinion, this needs to be done now. We need to allocate the couple $100,000 in the next few years. Hopefully they will realize they have not been left at the altar and will step up to the plate and do the right thing. It is our responsibility, given the public safety officials have asked for our help. Moderator Evans said the town council, town manager, are there LoCIP money for the 25,000? And Mr. Hanover said we've already allocated our LoCIP funds, but we've spent almost every penny. Can we take it away from something else? Mr. Burt asked, and Mr. Hanover said you're allowed to use LoCIP, but Mr. Burt said, I think we have to revert back to the 318,000 if you want to fund this. Representative Wells said Stonington's budget hearing is next Thursday and they will be lobbied for the bridge. I am not under any illusions that we could get a 2/3 majority, meaning from the RTM. But if we could get a reasonable majority, I think it would give us ammunition for the town manager to approach. Representative Cashier says pointed out that we had gone for a temporary bridge 10 years ago, it would still be up. Maybe we could still be debating whether to replace it with a permanent bridge, but in the meantime, the utility would still be there. Representative Merritt asked a question of Mr. Burt, how much have we spent on engineering for this so far? Mr. Hanover replied $50,000 to $60,000. I know that there was Representative Merritt said that there was a lot was appropriated over the past several years. I'd like to see it come to an end. If it's voted down, it's voted down. Documentation of the need and the fact that if it's going to be used by Stonington and Groton, that I feel we should only fund 50%. Representative Shimbrat asked, given the bridge has been out for 10 years, does anyone know what Stoning's commitment was for the first 5 or 6 years? Mr. Burt said they put it in their budget before, but not in the past several years. Representative Wells said in the time I've been on the RTM, the first selectman has consistently supported it. And it was asked if the finance board that usually cuts the money, it was unknown. There was a vote taken on Representative Wells' amended number of $1,233,000. The roll call was Wells, Casper, Fournier, yes, Gauthier, and Dean Shinbrat, no, Merritt abstained, and the vote failed. When the original number of $25,000 was voted on, the roll call was Wells, Gauthier, and Merritt, yes. Casper and Fortner abstained, and Dean Shinbrat was a no. That was the end of the discussion. We came to no consensus.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for listening.
That's only a portion of your minutes, and I would ask you to put a motion on the floor. We had. Did you say the votes? neither of those votes passed, so the motion, the number on the floor would be this town council number for that bridge.
Okay, so I'd like to move the town council number for the North Stonington Bridge for $25,000.
Is there a second? So we have a motion on the floor from Representative Dean Shimbrat, and that's been seconded by Representative Adams for $25,000, and that's on CIP F1 North Stonington Road Bridge. Is there any discussion on this? Representative Mello Miller?
I'd like to make an amendment to that, if that's possible.
Oops.
Or I'd like to put another number on the floor.
Okay.
I'd like to put the full amount on the floor, which is, please remind me, I'm trying to look, I just had it. I believe it was for
$1,233,000.
Yes, $1,233,000.
Is there a second to that?
Second, Kasiri.
Thank you. We have a motion, a second motion on the floor, or an amended number on the floor by Representative Mello Miller for $1,233,000, and that's been seconded by Representative Kasiri. Is there any discussion on that number? Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm confused by that number because our portion was to be 300 and something thousand, and then Stonington was the other number, and then the state was going to kick in 600. I don't remember there ever being the full amount.
This is John Burt. Cindy says you should move the whole number, but our portion would only be 318,000. But you should move the 1,233.
Okay, thank you. Representative Thomas?
Yes, I cannot in good faith or good conscience support the whole number with the idea that we don't have control over completion of the project. Control over completion of the project depends on having cooperation with Stonington. So I'm in favor of the 25,000 number so that we can secure the location and prepare for repair and or replacement. And then, you know, let's make a concerted effort to get in line with Stonington over the next coming year. But given the constraints of the budget this year, I don't think it makes sense to put the taxpayer on the hook for money that we don't have control over the execution. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Town Clerk McCousher, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I had a question of procedure that maybe Director of Landry could answer. If this passes the 1.233 million, I understand it's the total project. And our charter says that we can bond anything over 750,000. Would this be a bond?
No, this is only going to commit us to the 318,000. That's the max you can do for our portion.
Thank you. I wanted to also remind the body that this is being above the town council number will take a 2/3 majority to pass. Representative Cassieri.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. In these difficult, trying times of the pandemic, the residents of our town have learned firsthand what it is like to sacrifice in these past few weeks. We have learned to sacrifice our own needs and wants and securities for those who are more vulnerable than us. With my experience in emergency services, I understand the significance of time in an emergency situation, whether it be a fire call, a medical emergency, or simply a call for service. Seconds matter in an emergency. Seconds. The fire chief has stated in multiple sources, including to this body of the RTM, that his response times are minutes slower. In one source, he stated that his response time was 4 minutes slower to a call. For those awaiting help, for those waiting to be extricated from a vehicle, for those waiting for someone to get them to a hospital because they are having a heart attack, for those who are trapped in a bedroom while their home is on fire, 4 minutes makes a significant difference. A lot of the reasoning on waiting to fund this fall back on the idea of think of the whole of Groton. I understand that we are trying to keep taxes low this year. I understand the dire circumstances of the economic crisis we are in, but unfortunately for the people who need the assistance of the fire department the most, their needs have not been met for 10 years. I implore you to think of your homes, your family, your pets, the stuff you have worked for your entire life. Think of the fire department that is closest to you. Take the closest and fastest route that fire department has to get to you and close it down. Now, hopefully there are other ways to get to you, but now know that the fire chief is telling you and your family that there will be delays in getting to you. Could be 30 seconds, but it could also be up to 4 minutes, if not longer. Think of the change in the outcome for you, your children, your families, your home, your pets, your stuff. Please know that I will always fight for your safety, no matter what part of Groton you live in, and I urge you to fight for the people who live on the North Stonington Road, Route 27, River Road, Shoeville, 184. For these residents and any residents of Groton who deserve their safety recognized, because safety is the biggest issue here. They are the vulnerable right now. In these times of COVID-19, we have felt sacrifice. I'm asking for a little bit more today. Please support the full number.
Thank
you.
All right, Representative Mello Miller, you made this motion. Did you feel you did not speak to it adequately?
No, I'd like to just put some numbers forward for what the town would actually be paying. Is that possible?
You know, we had made a rule that people would speak once on their motion, so.
I understand, but when I made the motion, I didn't speak. I just made the motion.
Okay, you may speak to it.
Okay, thank you. And I will be brief. I just wanted to give the numbers that John Burt and Mr. Burt, you can correct me if I'm inaccurate in this. We asked last week what would be the cost to the taxpayers for our portion. And he responded, and this was April 3rd, it would be per house. It would be $10 per $100,000 of house value. So, and that is, so that's the value. So if your home is worth, you know, 200,000, it would be $20. So that's the amount to taxpayers per house. So
and that's correct. It'd be a 0.10 of a mil.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for
just for the bridge.
For the bridge, yes. So that would increase our taxes by that much. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A couple of questions for the town manager. This is a reimbursement-based situation, correct? Would we pay out the entire 1.233 is my first question. Will Stonington, how will we guarantee Stonington will pay their portion and the state will pay their portion?
Really screwing up.
And eventually, I just want to let everyone know, every year we move CIPs to the next year, to the next year, to the next year, and it's like your house. If you let your roof go and go and go because you just don't want to pay for it, eventually you're going to have a problem, and we're going to have to, as much as I don't like spending money or having my taxes raised, eventually we are going to have to start doing these CIPs. So those are my questions for the town manager. Thank you.
I'm going to let, Greg is on the line. He can speak to whether it's a reimbursement, but we could only do our half without an agreement. We can only do our portion of the bridge. So nothing's going to happen until we figure it out with Stonington. Greg, is that are you there, Greg?
Yes, John, I'm here.
Yeah, is that a reimbursement or do you have to pay up front for our part of the bridge?
For the state portions?
Yes.
I'd have to research that, to be honest with you. I don't know off the top of my head.
So we would have to encumber a lot of money in order to get this bridge done and hope that the rest of it comes.
Well, we have a commitment from the state to fund 50% of it. Whether they pay it as we go or they give us money up front, I don't know.
Cindy doesn't believe we've had to encumber it up front in the past on local bridge grants.
How does the work get done then?
She said, how does
How's the work get done then?
I think it's impossible to get caught on that.
sec, she's looking up something, but we haven't done it in the past.
My thought is if it's 1.233 and we only have to pay 318,000, we do the $318,000 worth of work, and then what, you have a third of a bridge? I don't understand how that works.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Cindy, and Greg, perhaps you can, I'm trying to get rid of the echo. Because the bridge grant is listed as other funding, typically when it's required a reimbursement grant, we have to appropriate the full amount as we do for the Board of Education grants when we receive part of their money back. And my thought is because it is considered an other funding, that it would not require us to spend the money up front. I know that we haven't gotten local bridge grant funding in a very long time. But Greg, that's something that we probably would need to look into, but simply because it's in that other column, I'm thinking that it's not deemed a true reimbursement, that it could be that we could get an advance funding from that. And I think maybe during the committee members, we did have some conversation about the design work and et cetera, what would have to be done.
Ms. Landry, no one, at least I have to speak for myself. I could not hear anything you said because there was significant echo. I don't know if this is the case for Town Clerk McCousher. Could you tell me if you could hear any of that?
This is Representative Adams. The echo was real bad, and most of it was garbled, so I could not fully understand what was being said.
Cindy's gonna come to my laptop, so 1 sec, please.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. It still sounds like it's a little bit of an echo, and Greg may need to speak into here too. But because this is is listed as in the other column, and it's not, it leads me to believe that it's not, although it may be termed a reimbursement grant, that we would not have to spend the money up front. As you know, when we get the money for the school building grants for roofs or other, we're required to appropriate the full amount because it is in a reimbursement grant. We have not gotten local bridge grant money in a very long time. So I would probably need to, either I or Greg would need to go back and look at how this was handled in the past. Does that answer your question?
So the norm is that you tell the other entities that you're going to do this project, wait for their money to come and then begin the project as a rule?
Well, in this particular project, it's because, it's not just us and the state, it's us, the state, and Stonington. If it were just the town and the state, then we would submit an application, the state would grant us the funding, and we can move forward with the project. And as we spent money, we would submit for reimbursements against the grant. It's a little unusual that we have the three parties in this. So I don't think that the bridge grant we would get any bridge grant funding unless we had the two towns that would commit to both of their shares of the grant, of the funding of the bridge.
All right.
Do you agree with that?
So then we would encumber the 318,000. That would sit in an account somewhere until the other two entities come through.
Right. If the full $300,000 was appropriated, it would be set aside, or an account would be created in the capital reserve fund, and that money would stay there until such time as either the project was deemed we were not going to proceed with it and we would have to close it out, or we would proceed with the project knowing whenever we were assured that Stonington had their share of the money, which we know now. If they don't have it in their 21 budget, at least a year the money would sit there and would just be idle.
So if they decide to close it this year with their process, then the 318 would go back into our fund balance or general fund or wherever it goes?
Next, it would go back into the capital reserve fund at year end, but it would be tied up for the entire year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would it, Ms. Landry, would it be tied up for 5 years as per other CIP allocations?
It would be tied up if it was still a valid project, but we could decide that we would eliminate a project as we've done in the past, and then the funds would revert back to the capital reserve fund at year end. If we were to deem, I know we had done that recently in the last couple of years, but honestly, the name of the project escapes me at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, may I ask one more question to follow
Yes,
up?
but please be
This,
quick.
this is my last one, I
Yeah.
promise. Why does Stonington say this is a Groton problem? Is more of that bridge on Groton property than Stonington?
This is John. I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to exactly, I'm not in their minds, but I think one of their points is that they have a hydrant on their side of the bridge, making this more of an our issue because they don't have the safety factor.
Thank you.
Like that.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll be brief. I just want to say that I fully support, providing the funding for this. People just want their governments doing for them what they want, and I'm not saying anyone's comparing the situation to bickering with Stonington, but it does seem, I think, from an outside point of view, that this is just ridiculous. I think Representative Cassieri really nailed the point home about safety, so I won't reiterate any of those points. I just think from the point of view of our constituents, for years they've been saying they want this, so I think it's time we step up and give them what they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Whitehouse?
Okay, I'm on. So the first point I want to make is that there is a man in New London who is alive today because the firemen were able to get there within 2 minutes after he had cardiac arrest. If they'd been delayed by 4 minutes, he would probably have been dead, because with an AED, you've got about a 5-minute window to get to somebody. So we're talking about a 4-minute delay. That's the difference between life and death for a few hundred residents who live in a certain band of Groton. That's why this is a Groton issue, because the fire trucks can get from Stonington to Stonington without crossing a bridge. They have to cross a bridge to get into Groton to cover that area. And Representative Cassieri covered that very well. But I want to talk about the economic side of it. The CARES Act was passed after the council meeting. So when the council met, they very prudently were being very conservative because they didn't know what was going to happen. We were looking at the worst economic disaster since the Great Depression. Since then, the federal government has committed $2 trillion, with the Fed putting in $2.2 trillion more, which means if you look at total economic activity for this 2-month period, it's actually going to be 175 to 200% of normal activity with all the injections of capital. So there's enough money coming in that we're no longer on the brink of financial disaster. There's disruption, but not disaster. We're talking about $7.75 for every man, woman, and child in the town of Groton to build this bridge. And it's quite frankly embarrassing that we have a bridge the fire department has been screaming for 10 years that hasn't been fixed. Last year we had an excuse. The year before there's an excuse.
Representative Whitehouse, 2 minutes has elapsed. Please wrap it up.
Okay. Yes. So there's always an excuse, but let's allocate the money. If Stonington doesn't, let's have it be on them. Let's put the money out there. If it never gets spent, it comes back to our coffers. But let's put it out there and show leadership in a time when people need to see leadership, and show that the safety of our residents is important.
Thank you. Representative Gustafson?
Yeah, hi. Most of my questions were just answered by the town manager. I just wanted to get some clarification. So if we actually approved the amount of the 1.233 number, that would actually be 318,000 coming from Groton with a 0.1 mil increase. If we approved that and it didn't get spent this year, which it sounds like it would not, that money would still be available for the next couple of years, I'm thinking, right? And just a comment, it may be, even if it's not going to get spent this year, maybe it might be a good idea to approve it, because with the budget being cut so much this year, I can imagine next year there might be, kind of a significant increase potentially. And to put this money aside now might make sense. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Flax?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to say that this, as people have pointed out, it's not solely up to Groton to complete, and I support the 25K for now. The council, I'm suggesting that the council create a bridge committee with the town of Stonington to resolve the issue once and for all. and that Stonington is traditionally underfunded accounts in our budgets, including the Mystic Noank Library and the pump out boat. So I don't like putting the money aside for a might be or could be. So I'd be to consider supporting the full amount when Stonington is also on board. And I think we would get to resolve quicker if we could get the town council to create a committee with Stonington to resolve it once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that a possibility, Mr. Burt, to create such a committee, or would that be at the town council level?
Well, I'm sure it'd be the council would reach out to their council, but I'm sure it's possible.
Representative Casper, I see your hand raised. However, you've already spoken once on this. Do you have another number you wish to move?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't believe I have talked on this. I asked a question about it, a qualifying question, but I did not speak to it.
That's it. That was a speaking. So, I mean, I will put you at the end of the list, but please realize we did vote to limit to one speaking and one motion. And I don't really distinguish between asking questions and having saying something else. It's really asking too much of the moderator to distinguish people's rhetoric.
Well, I think asking a question, the clarification question on the motion certainly isn't speaking to the motion.
I would beg to differ, but I will let you go this time. Please keep it quick.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Although I would support the full amount, I think it may be an exercise in futility without Stonington's approval. I also think it is imperative that we get at least a temporary bridge up there so it can be used for emergency use only, and that would remove the liability that we could find ourselves having to face. I think some of the letters that came from the constituents in that area definitely were leaning towards, trying to get legal experts in to solve the problem, meaning lawyers. I really think we have to move forward with the bridge. I don't know if there's any design for the bridge yet, but I think if the bridge was designed, that we would have a chance for federal funding. But I think it's essential we get a temporary bridge up there immediately. I think 10 years we're on borrowed time. I point out that in 2018, the Trump administration cut out the National Pandemic Response Team and to save money, and that didn't work out. So I think unless we get a temporary bridge in,
point of order.
We're not money.
Representative Kachowski.
Point of order.
Please, what is it? Point of order, please.
I don't think that he should be bringing in national politics with opinions.
Okay, thank you. Can you please continue? You have 9 seconds left, Representative Casper. Please focus your comments.
I was all done. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Representative Frickman.
I withdrew my hand after actually Bruce mentioned everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Gauthier Lauren.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a question for the town manager. Have we ever, or is it possible to have an MOU or an MOA with Stonington regarding this bridge and other projects? It seems so informal to just have this back and forth of, are we going to fund it? Are they going to fund it? Is there any way we can have a more official process to make sure that both ends are keeping their side of the agreement?
I think that would be the intent of having the two councils get together. And just to note, on a temporary bridge, you'd still have to price out the bridge and Stonington would have to pay their portion still.
Okay, thank you. So my comments would be, I would want to appropriate the $25,000 until such time we can get an MOU or an MOA with Stonington to ensure that the project gets funded and completed properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Osman.
Yes, I'd like to just echo, thank you, Madam Moderator. I'd like to just echo what Representative Lauren Gothier and Representative Flax had said regarding to, I think we really kind of, there's a lot of what ifs in this situation, and there's a lot of question marks that kind of come into play with the agreement with Stonington. And I'd like to ask one question that I'm not too clear on to the town manager. What is the percentage of what Stonington actually owns of that bridge currently?
Well, it's based on the I believe it's based on the average of the last 3 years' revenues. There's a kind of an odd way of doing it. It's somewhere around 58%, but we'd have to calculate it exactly, but it's close to, we would pay 58%, they'd be 42.
Okay. All right.
Right around there.
Okay. So I think, going back to what Representative Flax had said earlier regarding to maybe having the council's creating a committee and coming to the table and discussing this, regarding to building a temporary bridge, I think that would we, with all due respect, that would be kind of defeating the purpose if it's going to be all or nothing. And in addition to that, this is one thing we got to keep in mind. This does come back on the taxpayers, and I really believe that Stonington and Groton need to come to the table and come to a firm agreement that this is going to get done, and it's going to get done, and it's going to be done. So, but thank you. That's all I have to say.
Representative Baker?
Yes, I had two questions. Was the 25,000 that the town council approved, that was for design, right?
No, it's to take those support beams out to make it safer and put up some nice fencing. And if you were going to rebuild the bridge, you would need to take those beams out anyhow.
Okay, and then my other question was, people have been talking about a temporary bridge. Would a temporary bridge carry the weight of a fire truck?
Well, I'll leave that to, I'll go over to Greg, but just to mention again, you'd have to first price out the bridge, and Stonington would have to pay their portion of that also before we can move forward. But Greg, in terms of temporary bridges, do you have a thought on whether it would hold a fire truck?
Yeah, we would make sure that it would.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative, Mr. Hanover, while you're there, I just want to ask, maybe this was said and I apologize, what is the price differential between a temporary bridge and this $1.23 million bridge that's permanent?
We never priced out a temporary bridge. I mean, you could, I suppose, rent one for a certain amount of time, or you could actually buy one. But again, those costs would have to be split between Groton and Stonington, and there will be no state reimbursement for that.
Got it. Thank you. Representative Fortner?
Hi, thank you, Madam Moderator. I'd like to move another number.
Okay.
I would like to move $184,000, which would be the $25,000 to get working on the beams and $159,000 to put towards the bridge in an effort, since it can't be done this year anyway, because it's not going to be done without Stonington, but this gets the ball rolling and is a compromise. Thank you.
Is there a second to that? Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Representative Fortner for $184,000, and it was seconded by, I'm not sure, someone. Was it Representative Casper? Thank you.
It's Whitehouse first.
Okay, Representative Whitehouse. That's fine. Who would like to speak to this? I have hands raised, and I can go. Please, people got to put themselves on mute. Roseanne, I'm putting you on mute. There. Please keep yourself on mute. There's some significant feedback if you're not on mute, and if you're not wearing headphones. So I can go with the list I have, and we can take it from there. Representative Wells, and again, we're speaking on the amended motion.
Well, you've heard enough from me on the bridge in the minutes of the Public Works Committee. I'd like to speak to process. Back when Governor Malloy suspended these funds for bridge repair, and so we could do nothing. The following year, I spoke to our Lieutenant Governor Susan Bykowicz. I ran into her and I asked her about the bridge, and she said she'd speak to somebody called Ned about it. And then a couple of days later, I got a call from the Municipal Affairs liaison and explained that that everything was still in the works. It was up to the town, and thank you very much. If we don't put any money in this, it sends a horrible signal to Stonington. It tells them its suspicions confirmed Groton is never going to pay for this bridge, and so we really can't. If we went zero, it would be awful. If we do the full amount, people have been talking about the RTM after the vote no and campaign. The RTM makes it look more muscular. If we were to vote the 2/3 vote for the full funding, it would be front page news in the New London Day. And Stonington is still has yet to finish its budget deliberations. The Board of Finances has yet to go on. And they may well come on with their final budget, may do it. But it would send a good signal. Personally, we're responsible for our residents. It's not a responsibility we can offload to the town of Stonington and say it's their fault. In fact, the town of Stonington, the first selectman called our fire chief greatly concerned about the public safety issue. And so they're not totally callous about this. So they are interested. And so it's not something we can offload. We have a responsibility as an RTM, a responsibility to the town government, and as an elected official, we each individually have our responsibilities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator?
We'd like to be recognized. Hang on, I'll put you on the list.
Thank you.
Let's see, the next person I have is Representative Washington. Representative Washington?
Sorry, I was on mute. I have a question to the town manager. How would we proceed if Stonington does not fund the bridge? Would we ever build the bridge without any of their money, but with their consent to build the bridge?
That can be done. You'd have to have an MOU in place, but it could be done that way where we paid for the whole thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Foster?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have a couple questions in regards to the Connecticut General Statutes for shared bridges. It says necessary bridges shall be maintained by the both towns. I just was curious what deemed a bridge necessary.
Greg, do you have any answer to this?
No, it would be, up to the two towns that they would have to deem it necessary.
Has it been deemed necessary? Do you know?
There's been no formal study that has deemed it necessary from a traffic point of view. I mean, it's just always been there since probably the 1920s.
Did our road study look into that at all?
The road study just was looking at pavement conditions. It wouldn't have looked at the bridges.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Representative Foster?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Representative Katowski?
Yes, I have a procedural question. In section 9.4, duties of RTM, and this is pertaining to the $150,000 new number on the floor. It says that the RTM can
I believe it would go into the same capital reserve fund as the 318,000. This was 184,000 is the actual motion on the third motion, the third amended number on the floor.
My apologies. Could someone interpret what she just said? I couldn't understand that at all.
Representative Katowski, it was muffled. If you're on speakerphone, I would suggest holding the phone to your ear because it's hard to hear you.
Oh, okay. So, on section 9.4, I'm just asking the question. Under duties of the RTM in the charter, it says that the RTM may cut appropriations or restore appropriations. So my question is, if the town council had a either fund it or either fund the bridge with the state in Stonington or spend $25,000 to make it safe and close it, in the charter, can the RTM create a third path for money?
Yes,
That's just my question.
The RTM can restore funds up to the town manager's number. The town manager's number was 1.233. The actual amount of that that would be allocated as per the CIP is 318. The actual number, as Mr. Burt has indicated, that would be needed to move forward is in the order of $350,000 to $360,000. Having
Okay, so
a third.
her condition in her motion will be dropped off.
The motion was for 184,000. There were no conditions. I believe she just explained that motion.
Oh.
Okay. There were no conditions on the funding. Representative Fortner, am I mistaken? Was it just a number or were there conditions on? I don't believe we can put conditions on it, but.
No, it was my suggestion. Thank you.
All right. Representative Whitehouse.
So I apologize. I thought that we were just funding our half of the bridge. Now I see we're funding. This motion is to fund half of our half of the bridge, which does send a signal that we're looking to do something. But I think if we're going to do something, ultimately what we're doing and
Order. Representative Whitehouse has already spoken.
Not on this motion. This is a new motion.
That's correct. He has not spoken on this motion. Continue, please. Yeah.
So the finance director can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what would happen is we're administratively allocating this money. If we don't end up using it, then it just stays in our account. But so it's important to send the signal by saying we're moving the money from this pile of money to this pile of money, so it's ready to go. If Stonington doesn't come through, we just move it back to the big pile of money. So we're not reaching into people's pockets and pulling out. And if we are, it's $10 on their $6,000 tax bill. But we're sending an important signal that we're looking to move forward. We're looking to lead. Also, important thing to point out: Stonington has new leadership. So just because they haven't done it for the last few years doesn't mean they won't do it forever. That's the thing about democracy. We keep changing leaders. So it makes a lot of sense. So while I did second this, I'm going to be voting against this number, and I'd recommend that we vote the whole number to send the signal that we're looking to do this. We're not just going to dump half the money in the river. We're going to set it aside administratively, be ready to act, send the signal ready to act, and say, hey, Stonington, let's work together and let's potentially save lives on our side of the river, which it sounds like they want to do. And also, I believe they're having their meeting on April, I had this written down, April 20, soon, in the near future, whatever the date is. So there is still space that if we allocate this, that positive action can occur. So I think that we should vote the full number, which is not the one we're talking about now, but the one.
Thank you.
We'll go back to after this.
Your 2 minutes has expired.
Yep, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right. Representative Thomas.
Yes, I just wanted to speak against this amendment. Again, I don't believe that we should work in signals or intuition or anything else. I'm a firm believer in getting like a firm agreement on the table. So I think let's go with the 25,000 number and let's commit to creating a committee either through the RTM or through the town council and to get to a MOU or MOA with the town of Stonington and resolve this situation. I share the outrage about like how long it's been since the bridge has been out, but that doesn't mean that we need to work in smoke signals. Like, let's get firm about this. Let's get real and get a commitment from Stonington. But in the meantime, we do have safety concerns with those beams. So we can advance the cause by securing the location, get rid of those beams and prepare for ultimate replacement. But it's not responsible to do so on a whim or a wing and a prayer. Let's get that MOU in hand with Stonington. Let's get them on the record. But until then, I don't think it's responsible to spend anything more than the 25,000. Thank you.
Representative Salva?
Hi, thank you, Madam Moderator. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
All right, good. So I don't normally speak, but I just wanted to give my opinion on this. I totally understand public safety. It's what I do as a career, and you know, it's very important if you know, minutes do count in any kind of situation. It's an emergency, but at the same time, spending what is it, $150,000 more without any kind of understanding with Stonington, I think is inappropriate, and it's poor management of the taxpayers' funds. I'm in support of the motion to commit $25,000 to secure the area, with the understanding that there's you know, a task force or whatever you want to call it to come to an MOU with the town of Stonington for the full funding of the bridge repair. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Cassieri? Cassier? Sorry, I apologize if I say it wrong.
It's okay. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just wanted the body to know that Stonington is not done yet. They are meeting on April 29th. I was emailed by constituents, and they are planning on talking about the bridge on that date. So it's not final on Stonington's side. So I just like everyone to keep that in mind when we vote today. Thank you.
Representative Mello Miller?
Thank you. I would like to call the question now.
Really, there's no need to do that because, anyway, that's not debatable. Is there a second?
Second, DeCillier Fleming.
Ah, you're here. Thank you for coming. I hope your daughter's feeling better. So we have a motion on the floor to call the question by Representative Mello Miller, seconded by Representative DeCillier Fleming. I think we do need a roll call vote. Please, Town Clerk, could you lead us in that?
Yes, we're going to add DeCillier Fleming. Okay, because I didn't see her till now. Okay, Adams?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Casper?
No.
Cassieri?
No.
Yep. Okay. Those no's over there. Chase?
No.
Cologne?
Can I just ask a point of inquiry? What is it exactly that is speaking?
We're ending debate. We're ending debate.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Crockett Hubbard?
Yes.
Dean Chinrut?
Yes.
Fitzgerald? Fitzgerald?
Yeah, no.
Flax?
Sorry, no.
Fortner?
Yes.
Crickman?
Yes.
Gauthier David?
Yes.
Gauthier Lauren?
Yes.
Gustafson?
Yes.
Henscom?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Bukowski?
No.
Lambert?
No.
Luck?
Yes.
Mello Miller?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes.
Osman?
Yes.
Powers Kristen?
Yes.
Powers, Sean,
Yes.
Richards,
No.
Rusk,
Yes.
Salva,
Yes.
yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Foster,
No.
Thomas,
No.
Washington,
No.
Wells,
No.
Whitehouse,
Yes.
Whitney, Whitney, Representative Whitney.
I don't see him on the list anymore.
Thanks. Being an attendee over there?
No.
No. Okay.
He's not under attendee.
Yikes. Okay. All right. DeSiller Fleming,
Yes.
Eben.
Yes.
Okay. Give 25 yes and 10 no, and I'm missing somebody, but that's all right. It passes.
Thank you. All right, so that motion passes. I am going to use my discretion to allow one additional hand that had been raised to speak for 1 minute, and that was Representative Casper.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't know what I'm speaking to, but I would like to point out that when there's only 1 or 2 hands left raised and someone moves the question, it's unfair to take 4 minutes for 2 people to talk. But anyway, I'm in favor of the present motion, and I think we could use part of it to look into getting a temporary bridge up so that we can get our liability issues solved.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor for 184,000. We're going to take these 3 motions in opposite, in the order that opposite to which they were made. The amended number is 184,000. Could we please have a roll call vote on that? And that, just to remind us, was made by Representative Fortner.
Okay. Adams.
No.
Haley. Haley.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Casper.
Yes.
Kasari.
Yes.
Chase.
No.
Salone.
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard.
No.
Dean Chinbrot.
No.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Blacks.
No.
Fortner.
Yes.
Crickman.
No.
Gothier David.
No.
Gothier Lauren.
She's putting our toddler to sleep, but she's a no. If you want,
Okay.
you can come back around at the end.
Okay. Gustafson.
No.
Hanscom.
Yes.
Jones.
No.
Gutowski.
No.
Lambert.
No.
Luck.
No.
Mello Miller.
No.
Merritt.
No.
Osman.
No.
Powers Kristen.
No.
Powers Sean.
No.
Richards.
No.
Rusk.
No.
Salva.
No.
Stevenson.
No.
Foster.
No.
Thomas.
No.
Washington,
No.
Wells,
No.
White House,
No.
Whitney.
I think he's still not here.
Okay, Eben.
Yes.
I'm sorry. DeSiller Fleming.
No.
Okay, that's 9 in favor, 28 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
So that motion fails. The next number we have on the floor is $1.233 million. And just to remind us, we need a 2/3 majority to pass this.
Either one
because-
of those.
Either one, but the other one failed,
Right.
simply. So I think we need another roll call vote, please.
Okay. Adams.
No.
Bailey.
Request the motion,
Number?
please.
The motion
I
is
drifted out.
$1.233 million
Oh,
on
no,
CIP 7-1, F1, excuse me, North Stonington Road Bridge. The amount that would be allocated from into the capital reserve would be $318,000.
Thank you very much. No.
Baker.
No.
Casper.
Yes.
Kasari.
Yes.
Chase.
Yes.
Wow.
Cologne.
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard.
No.
Dean Shinbrot.
No.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Flax.
No.
Fortner.
No.
Frickman.
No.
Gothier David.
No.
Lauren.
No.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hanscom.
Yes.
Jones.
No.
Towski.
No.
Lambert.
Yes.
Luck.
Yes.
Mello Miller.
Yes.
Merritt.
No.
Osman.
No.
Powers Kristen.
Yes.
Powers Sean.
Yeah.
You said no?
Sorry.
What did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Richards.
Yes.
Rusk.
Yes.
Salva.
No.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Foster.
No.
Thomas.
No.
I'm sorry. I turned my page here. I said no. 16. Washington.
No.
Wells.
Yes.
White House.
Yes.
I don't think that Whitney's back. DeSiller Fleming
Yes.
and Eben.
Yes.
That's my count. I have a count of 18 yes and 18 no. That's bizarre.
That motion fails.
How about that? All right, last one on the floor is 25,000.
So can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
I'd like to make another motion.
Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for $43,000. What that entails is removing the beams that are going to be replaced and also engineering study.
Requires a 2/3 vote.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Is that you- Washington, okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can everyone mute themselves because there's a really bad echo? Thank you. 43,000, and that was seconded by Representative Washington and made by Representative Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion on that motion? Representative Whitehouse?
Just briefly, again, I believe we should fully fund this, but 43 is better than 25, so I'm going to be voting in favor of it because it sends a signal that we care a little.
Representative Thomas?
Yes, again, I don't believe in sending signals with spending cash. We need to have a memorandum of understanding. The number 43,000 is just kind of an arbitrary guess of what this study would be, I believe. I don't think it is, like, we don't have that number, a determined amount for the study. We don't have that on the table. We don't know who would be doing the study or how much it would actually cost. That would just be a spitball amount. So again, it's not responsible to set money aside without a firm commitment of a plan of action and a determined plan of action. So I'm going to be voting no on this and in support of the 25,000 number.
Thank you. Representative Frickman?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want it noted that in response to Representative Whitehouse comments that we don't care, that on the record that we do care, this is not how we're voting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Representative, and there is no more, seeing no more hands. Representative Foster?
Oops, sorry, take that down.
Representative Casper?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I support the motion, and I think that some of the things that could be done by staff. It probably wouldn't require even that much money, but to come up with a temporary solution. Again, I think we're playing with a big liability issue here, and we're not doing anything to move forward with it.
Thank you. Representative Flax?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just echo what Representative Thomas said, that if there was a committee formed, we could put that money towards it. And I would again point to the council forming a committee with the town of Stonington, and then if they needed an engineering study done, they could take that money from contingency. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fitzgerald, you made the motion. Did you feel you did not speak adequately to it? I'm going to go on to Representative Gustafson.
Yeah, could the town manager speak to this? I'm not sure where the cost for the study would come from, but even if it was done, would it be relevant if the bridge was not worked on in, say, 2 to 3 years down the road? Thanks.
Right. I'm not sure clear what the question is. Could you say again, please?
Yeah, so there was a motion to add whatever the dollar amount was, the 25K for an engineering study.
No, 25,000 isn't for engineering. That is to remove the beams for safety, which would have to be done even if you were replacing the bridge, and then to put up some fencing. The extra money for the 18,000 would be for the engineering study.
And then, so if the engineering study was done, would the study still be relevant if the bridge was not worked on for, like, say, 2 to 3 years?
I'll let Greg, what do you think on that? Would a study be valid?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the study does. I mean, we have semi-final plans to replace the bridge. We've got permits from both Groton and Stonington, wetlands permits to go ahead. The 18,000 that's in the CIP was to do final design plans, to get the thing out to bid and built.
So that probably wouldn't make sense then.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you would be studying.
Yeah.
Thank you. Representative Baker?
I just lowered my hand. My question was answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase also has a hand lowered. Is that correct?
Yes, you are correct. Thank you.
Representative Bailey?
Yes, thank you very much, Matt. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. My apologies to everybody. Originally, when I heard my name, I just answered up yes. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention, but I'll let you guys move on. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Representative Osman?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So just to kind of clarify what Greg Handover had just said, the study has already been completed. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, we've had our consultant engineers completed semi-final design for a new bridge there. Stonington and us paid for that over the last, well, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And we've gotten all the permits needed for the construction. So the 18,000 is to complete the plans, get everything ready to go out to bid for a contractor to bid on.
So there would be no necessary need to continue on with any future studies. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see no further hands up that have not already spoken. So we have a motion on the floor for $43,000. Could we please have a roll call vote on that?
Okay, Adams?
No.
Bailey?
No.
Baker? Oh, boy.
Bailey, no.
Baker?
No.
Casper?
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
Chase?
No.
Cologne?
No.
Crockett Hubbard?
No.
Dean Shinbrot? No. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Flax?
No.
Fortner?
No.
Foster?
No.
Prickman?
No.
Gothier David?
No.
Gothier Lauren?
No.
Gustafson?
No.
Hanscom?
No.
Jones?
No.
Katowski?
No.
Lambert?
Yes.
Luck?
Yes.
Hello, Miller?
No.
Merritt?
No.
Osman?
No.
Powers Kristen?
No.
Powers Sean?
No.
Richards?
No.
Rusk?
No.
Salva?
No.
Stevenson?
No.
Thomas?
Nope.
Washington?
No.
Wells?
No.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Evan?
No.
Okay, that's 5 in favor, 32 opposed, and no abstentions.
DeCilia Fleming? No.
Oh, I missed you again. Sorry.
No worries.
So that motion fails 5-33-0. We have another number on the floor, which is $25,000. Could we have a roll call vote on that?
Madam Moderator, I don't know if Mayor Granatowski has her hand up.
Oh, sure. Can Mayor Granatowski, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you all for doing this. It's not easy. So I'm hearing a lot of talk about forming a committee, and let's put a committee together and let's sit and let's talk. Well, a committee has no teeth if there's no money behind it. If we don't put some money where our mouth is and appropriate our share, a committee is going to be useless. We need to put some money in up front. And I understand the original or the manager's appropriation failed. However, my suggestion, if you are serious about a committee and serious about getting this bridge built, then perhaps someone could make a motion for our share. which would be, I believe, somewhere around 350,000, according to the 58-42% formula. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for listening. Thank you for permitting me to speak as an ex officio.
Thank you. So seeing no hands up, Representative Whitehouse.
I would like to make the motion that the mayor recommends.
Second, Gustafson.
I don't even know.
Are we allowed to, we're wondering if we were allowed to do that, go above.
Point of order.
I don't know who said the point of order, but could you please explain it and say your name?
Point of order, Thomas. I just am confused. I thought we already went through all that. Like, we've already been through the process. I mean, we've already had big numbers up and we've worked our way down to this. We've already had this vote.
This is admissible. It's not frivolous. Thank you. So we have a motion. It has not been seconded to my knowledge. Is there a second?
I thought Fortner did.
Okay, I didn't hear it. All right.
I'm sorry.
Gustafson. So we have a motion on the floor for 318,000. Is that correct, Representative Whitehouse? You didn't say a number, so I'm guessing here.
Yes. So for 300, if that's the number that Mayor Grantowski said, for 318,000 with the kind of note that the purpose is to fund a committee that can then work with Stonington. Obviously, that's not binding, but to fund a committee that can work with Stonington, so we'll have something behind it and can get something moving.
All right. Well, you're losing me here because 318,000 is a lot of money for a committee. So
Well,
I'm sorry,
well,
you lost my vote with that description.
But no, yeah, we're not spending the money. We're allocating the money. If it doesn't go through, we still have the money. We're not writing a check. We're simply putting that
I
money
would suggest,
in the account.
Representative Representative Whitehouse, that you don't specify that the money is to be used for a committee, that the money is to be used for our share of repair.
Okay,
of creating
I
a
just want to say that
bridge.
the money is used to give the committee teeth, to
Please
show
leave-
our commitment to.
Leave the committee out because there's no committee at this point. Please just make a number and relate it to building, restoring, or securing the bridge. Thank you.
Yes. So 318,000 for the purpose of securing, building, restoring the bridge, and most importantly, keeping safe the people on our side of the bridge who the fire department needs to reach.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor for 318,000 and it has been seconded. I see a slew, as usual, of hands raised. So we will take Representative Stevenson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I just had a quick procedural question. If we do not accept this number and we go back to the original number and that doesn't get passed, does that mean zero money gets allocated for this project? Is that how that works?
If the 20, I would imagine, I don't actually know if the 25,000 fails, you mean?
Yes.
Town Clerk McCousher, what would happen? Would we still have to make motions until some number carried?
No. If this motion fails, this 318,000, then you have the 25 that's still the original 25.
Yes, if that fails.
If that fails, then you have zero funding, correct?
Zero. So then it would implicitly be zero?
Yeah, if there's no other number on the floor to vote on.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Foster.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This just feels like a complete workaround over what we've already voted on, because this is the exact same amount if we would have spent, if we would have allocated the full amount for the bridge. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My question is to the town manager, and it goes along with what the speaker that just spoke said. If we don't allocate the entire 1.233 million and we only vote on the 318,000 and it passes, would we be able to do the bridge if we didn't vote on the 1.233?
I think we'd have to look at the state requirements, whether we have to take formal approval. If we do have to require to take formal approval on the bridge to be entitled to it. Greg, do you have any feeling on that?
I'm sorry, what was the question again, John? I didn't hear it.
in order to get state reimbursement. If we only vote on the 318,000, would we get state reimbursement if ultimately we build that bridge? If we don't vote for the entire 1.233?
I don't believe so. I mean, you have to have Stonington in on this. We have to vote for the 1.2 to get the state reimbursement.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Adams?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. In reference to Representative Whitehouse's comment of the mayor's figure, Mayor Granatowski actually said $350,000 because our share is going to be a little bit higher, as the town manager had indicated. So either he's got to take that number back and put up what the mayor had suggested, or as Representative Thomas said, we've already talked about the 318 number. Thank you.
I had asked Representative Whitehouse to clarify his motion, and he did not specify a number. I personally wasn't sure what he wanted. Sorry. Representative Whitehouse, would you please clarify your number, because you didn't specify a number when you made your motion.
Good.
Could Mayor Grontowski tell me what number that she would like that to be for?
I think that's inappropriate at this point. I think you should go from the discussion, which is that 318,000 is allocated in our budget book. The number that Mr. Burt had suggested would actually be needed is between 350 and 360,000.
But the town manager's number is
318,000 is the number that's indicated in the budget book.
okay. So that's the highest number we can do. But the difference,
the number in the budget book is $1.233 million. You guys, can you look at page 218 by any chance? Representative Whitehouse, were you going to clarify that? Or should we move on under the 318 assumption?
yeah, yes, 318 seems to make sense. I don't actually, hold on. So I've got a child tapping on my shoulder, and I really don't even understand the question. The mayor seemed to propose a very good suggestion, asking us to empower them to make this happen, and now I'm apparently not allowed a lifeline to phone a friend and ask the mayor for clarification on what she needs to be able to do what she was saying the town council will be able to do if we support them.
You said 350,000.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Representative Merritt.
I see on page 218, Stonington's funding of 318,000. I don't see anything representing Groton.
I think what you see also is that the local bridge program, which is state funded, is 597. And the difference from those numbers is 318. Am I correct, Mr. Burt?
Yes, under other at the bottom of the page.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go on. If you'd like to
Madam
speak, there's a huge list of people. I'm happy to put you at the bottom, Representative Katowski.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we'll go under the assumption that it's 318 since the maker of the motion has failed to clarify it. And that was what I had asked him if he was making, and he had agreed with that. Maybe when you make a motion, you should be sure of the number you wish to move. Representative
Right,
Flax.
but it's more complicated than just a single number because there's multiple elements to it because of the way CIPs are structured. So I would appreciate if you not try to make me sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
I was happy to entertain your number, Representative Whitehouse. I was just curious what your number was. And I've given you ample time to clarify it. Could you clarify it?
I
Please.
clarified,
I am not trying to make the number anything other than what you want at this point.
and I want it to be what Mayor Grantowski would like.
Which is
Was requesting.
350,000.
And I'm not understanding why Mayor Grantowski can't clarify what that number would be.
Because she's gone away.
Representative,
350,000.
I think you hear it from the other speakers that it's 350,000 is what she said.
Okay,
I did not take notes, so I don't know.
Okay,
You
then
can ask Mr.
350,000.
Mayor Granatowski to come back. What I'm asking everyone on this body is when you make a motion with a number. That's how this body works. Okay? Mayor Granatowski, would you like to clarify your comments?
Thank you. I believe the amount, because of that calculation of an average of each municipality's past 3 years' revenue, works out so that we would be funding approximately 52% and Stonington would fund 48%. And if I recall correctly, I think it was about 350,000 for Groton. Mr. Burt, do you have that number with you? I don't have it on me right this minute. I could go find it if necessary.
I don't have it on me either, unfortunately.
I'd like to remind the body, we can't go above the town manager's number, which really was 318,000 for Groton. But if the town clerk believes that we can move a number higher than that, within that 1.233, if there's some, then that's fine.
Well, you can look at it more than one way, Madam Moderator. You could look at it as the town manager's number was the 1.3 million.
Yep.
Can I speak? It's John. I looked up, it's 58% of the amount would be ours. So you're talking about 370,000. And when I look at the 9.4, I think as long as we don't go over the total number of the higher of the council's budget or mine, that you can go over the individual number. That's what it looks like to me anyways, unless someone else has a different opinion on that reading.
I'm sorry, can that be restated?
Which I believe you could make a higher number than mine. What the 9.4 says is you can make changes as long as the total budget doesn't go over the higher of my budget or the town council's budget. I think for an individual item like this, you can go over, because enough other stuff's been cut out that you wouldn't go over the total budget.
Oh, you can't.
And so, Mr. Burt, you're saying 360,000 would be?
More like 370. It's like 369 and change when I look at it.
So 370 would be the number that would be what Mayor Grantowski was asking for to have allocated. So when we speak to Stonington, we can say, we're ready to step up as soon as you are and show credibility. Do I understand that correctly?
I believe that was her intent, but she could clarify.
If so, then 370,000 would be the number.
Thank you. Representative Flax.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm just a little confused, and with regards to a committee, I've never heard of a committee needing any amount of money to be formed with another town. So I don't understand why. I think the mayor had said that we needed teeth behind the committee, and then the committee would decide what was going to happen. The committee may decide that they figure out a way to mutually set it up and not replace it, or whatever it may be. But to give them money before they meet is putting the cart before the horse. And I'm not really understanding. When the number was put up at first, the town manager said we needed to put up the whole amount. And now that failed. And now there's another number being put up, which is a part of it, but not the whole number. It just seems like we're making up rules to satisfy in some agenda. I just don't understand it. And I would call point of order, but I'm not sure if that's appropriate, or I'd look to the town clerk to explain, because I don't understand. Thank you.
Town Clerk McAllister, could you explain? I feel some of Representative Flax's
Yeah, okay, well, I can
Frustration.
certainly see because we're all feeling this way. So let's just, let's look at the law, and the way I interpret the law is that the original motion, the town manager's budget is clearly on page 218. And under 2021, that total is $1.233 million.
Right.
That's what the manager's budget was. So you can't go above that, obviously, according to charter, and that's in section 9.4. The RTM may make cuts, but they cannot restore council cuts without a 2/3 vote, and you cannot ever go above the town manager's number. So this amount, 370, is not out of line. It's not over the town manager's budget.
The town manager told the person who wanted to move a number for the bridge, which was in the 300,000s, that they needed to move the whole number in order for it to be placed. So how does that rule change now? Thank you.
See, that's exactly the truth. That the state would require the entire amount. So, but that doesn't play to this number. You see. That's a different topic. You know, the one. Yes, the town needed to remove the entire amount if we wanted to go through with the project. The council didn't want to. They allocated 25,000 to shore up the bridge, and the committee, the RTM committee, didn't vote on a number, so you have to vote on town council's 25. Well, motion that went on took the town manager's budget, the $1.233 million, that failed. So now you're playing with numbers. So I don't know where the money would go. I don't know what it means, but that for purposes of parliamentary procedure, there's nothing outside of the bounds.
Can the town manager speak to why we would go with the whole amount before, but go with the lower amount now, and how that will affect the budget in the upcoming year?
We pulled out the town charter. When I'm looking at it, it says the RTM can restore cuts made in a department appropriation with a 2/3 vote. Well, I think that would be, you're stuck with either the full amount or the 25,000. I don't think you can do anything else when I look at that. Do you agree? By a 2/3 vote of the members present and voting, restore cuts made in a department appropriation by the council. They cut the full amount down to the 25,000, provided that in no case can the final total of the budget be more than the greater or minor of the council. So if you can only restore cuts, you probably don't have the authority to do an in-between. Yeah.
So, Mr. Byrd, are you saying we don't have the authority to move 370,000? Is that what I just heard?
If I'm reading that correctly, that you can only restore cuts. Well, restoring a cut would be putting it back to the full amount. You've already voted on that. Cindy, is that your take?
That's the way
That's Cindy, how Cindy's reading it too. And I think that's what Betsy was saying also.
I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I think our body has restored cuts in the past at levels below the full amount that the town council voted.
Not CIP.
On CIP, thank you.
Oh.
Okay, so I think that we have a motion that we can't consider, according to Mr. Burt, which is 370,000. So we'll go to the motion that's on the floor before that, which was the 25,000. Representative Flax, did your
point of order?
Right, Representative Whitehouse?
I don't understand why we can't, because I'm fairly certain that we've partially restored things before, and there's nothing in the charter or rules that differentiate CIPs and other accounts. So anything that applies to any other account should apply to CIPs equally, and by precedent, we've frequently partially restored funding to different things. So I would strongly disagree with the conclusion that we can't partially restore funding, because we do it all the time.
But not to CIPs, Mike. That's the difference. This is a CIP, not a general account.
I think I can't think of examples, obviously, but I don't see how there's a difference in the rule, because the charter doesn't mention CIPs versus regular accounts. So I don't see how the rules to differentiate where we're in the area of precedent rather than rules here.
Well, I think Representative Whitehouse, so I'm reading my charter right now. This is, we may restore cuts made in department appropriation by the council, provided that in no case can the final total of the budget or of any bond issue be greater than that proposed by the town manager. This is not a departmental appropriation. This is a CIP. And by increasing this, we would be increasing it, you know, over that amount, total amount of the town council. Is that correct? Town Clerk McCousher, I'm sorry, I'm kind of stumped by this, seeing merit in both ways of looking at this. Can we have, I don't see CIPs listed, but I do see departmental appropriations. So this is not a departmental appropriation. So does this mean that we cannot change CIPs?
You know, this is very, very gray, isn't it? Because CIPs are certainly handled differently than departmental budgets. You know, they're not, you know, sometimes it takes 5 years to fund an entire project in a CIP. So this is why it's very, very different. I really want to understand from the perspective that the full amount that was in the town manager's budget. Well, how is that going to change? I mean, can the town manager, am I wrong to assume that you didn't have $1.233 million in your original budget?
It was in there, the whole thing.
Okay, so therefore, this year, if the RTM approves this, what's the number now? 380,000? I don't even know. What's on
370,000 is the number on the floor.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have it. That's just going to go into that CIP account, and it just would sit there. I don't believe that there's a different procedure. I think that Representative Whitehouse is correct. Why can't we fund it portion by portion? So we put 370,000 into that CIP account this year, and perhaps next year we zero it out. Who knows, right? It really is a matter of semantics here, and you know whose motivation is what. I don't know. So I'm a little frustrated myself at this point. And I am answering your question, Madam Moderator. I believe that this motion is fine to be on. I don't understand it, but except the way I've just explained, it goes into that CIP account, and that CIP account will continue next year. You'll still see that $370,000 in there. It'll still be sitting there.
But we can't allocate more than 318 as per for this project, as per the CIP F1. Is that correct, Mr. Burt?
Madam Moderator, could I offer a different way of phrasing it?
No, I'm asking a question, Mr. Burt, but in a minute you can. Mr. Burt, is that correct? We can't, if we do vote for the 370, can we allocate more than that? The full 370 from Groton taxpayers?
I don't know where they're getting this 370 from.
Please, I'm asking Mr. Burt.
He just stepped away for just a minute. Can you just give him a second to come back?
You bet.
All right, thank you.
I would ask us to take a 5-minute recess if that's okay. So please come back at 2 minutes after noon, okay? Because we haven't had any recesses yet. So take a 5-minute recess, 2 minutes after noon. Thank you. only up to 318,000 could be spent. Is that correct?
Well, I think if the motion isn't adding that extra, whatever it would be, 52,000 on top of, I mean, I don't think you're looking at adding the 52,000 onto the 1.2. I think she's looking at just doing 370, and then you come back and have to approve the grants later.
Got it.
And
Thank you.
if that's the case, I think you got to decide whether the 184 was even appropriate to look at, because it'd probably be considered the same. I just can't find a clear answer in any of the legal opinions on that.
Thank you. I think we're going to move forward with the 370 because I do not see a reason specifically in my reading of the charter to prohibit that, although I do see that it, because this would not take us above the town manager's total budget number, since there were significant cuts made by the town council. So I think we are safe with our 370. We do have several people with their hands raised. Please assess whether you do want to speak on this 370. I will move forward. Representative Thomas?
Yes, I disagree with the 370 figure, and I disagree with how we got to this point. I don't believe this is parliamentary inbounds. If it's unclear, then we should not proceed. Again, we should not assign cash for the sake of like sending signals out. And I don't agree with the mayor's opinion. It is just her opinion that a committee has no power without cash. Where is that coming from? I don't know. And it seems incredibly egregious that she would have that figure thrown in here. We already worked past this point, and I disagree with the fact that we're having this conversation right now. So I would, again, I'm voting no on the $370,000 for two reasons. One, don't want to put the cash out without a firm commitment from Stonington. Two, I don't think a committee needs cash to have backing. And I'm in support of the 25,000 number, and we need to get back to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Representative Mello Miller.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions for the town manager regarding this number, but I also want to say that I don't think it's our place to attack the town councilors that originally brought this number. It's not on them, and this is about our body right now. So to criticize the mayor of the town is out of order. But in regards to the town manager, Mr. Burt, just a couple of questions. One, will we still get the state money with this $370,000 approval?
If we're not appropriating the full amount, it's unknown at this time. I think you'd have to come back and do, an additional approval later for the grant funding.
So the answer is no, we would not get the state money with this 370.
Not guaranteed. That's all we can say.
Okay. And then my last question is, with this 370, is this still, with the mill rate, would this still affect people about $10 per $100,000 of home value? Is that what we're looking at?
It may be just a little bit over. It'd be a little slightly over that, but not a lot over.
Okay, so the mill rate and the increase in the mill rate pretty much stays the same as to the previous. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to make sure, is it would be $10 per 100,000. All right, thank you. That's all I had to ask.
Thank you. Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. First thing I wanted to clarify something Betsy said. She said if we didn't pass the 25,000, then we would be at zero for it. And I think that section 9.52 of the charter concerning if the RTM fails to adopt the budget, it would revert to the council's number. So even if we didn't pass anything, it would revert to the 25,000. And to address this issue, I think I'm in favor of it. I think it gives us flexibility to move forward. I think we're, someone has to speak for the citizens of Old Mystic who seem to be left out of this conversation. And I think any of these representatives, if suddenly the bridge next to your house or in your neighborhood washed away, you would like to see some action. And it's been 10 years. This is egregious. We should be moving forward and getting a bridge there for those people. They pay their taxes too. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Frickman?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to say, I want to echo some things that Chase said, and Representative Chase, and Representative Thomas said. I don't agree with the process we're going with here. And I don't even, I feel like as though this is a workaround what we've already accomplished. Earlier, we had to push a number, and the town manager said we had to go with the entire number, which was 318 million of our portion, or 18,000 of our portion. And at this point, I feel as though this is a complete workaround what we've already done. I don't even think what we're doing right now is parliamentary either. So that's me.
Thank you. I think there's dissension. I personally, Representative Frickman, don't see clear guidance in the charter on this, and Mr. Burt doesn't see that legal opinion, and the town clerk has given, no indication that this is inappropriate. So I'm going to proceed until we can figure that part out. Representative Katowski?
Thank you. I have a question for the town manager, and I don't think anybody's asked this question yet. Is there a time limit for state reimbursement?
Well, we still never figured out whether it's a reimbursement or if you could get funding up front. And in terms of how long the funds will be out there, we don't know.
So typically, if we kind of make a deal with the state, how long is it good for?
I don't know. I don't think there's a clear answer.
I think it was.
Thank you.
But yeah. Once you have a grant agreement, once we proceeded, then you would know and be locked in. But we don't have that at this point.
Thank you.
Representative Powers? Sean?
There you go. How are you this afternoon? It's long afternoon. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I pulled out a couple of our old CIP books, and just to set the record a little bit straighter here, the town of Groton has funded the repair of this bridge dating back all the way to 2016. I've looked it up. It approved in 2017 on 4/21. Okay, so it's not like we've been negligent in our responsibilities to give the people of Old Mystic the bridge back. The fact is that Stonington has not funded their portion of the bridge. This is why you have so much gray area to where we're going with who's going to help support pay for the bridge, whether it's the state, both towns. The point that I'm trying to make is this. It's been funded, fully funded. We tried to pass a vote for fully funding the bridge, the 1.2 million. That did not pass. Okay, and it was a divided group, as we say. Right now, we're just going around and around and around. The $25,000 is to secure it, make it safe, and that's the number that we should go with, due to the fact that we're in a very critical time and that we're not able to fully fund everything because we're not sure what our tax revenues are going to be right now. People can't pay their mortgages. There's lots at stake here for people. This bridge can be secured and it can be safe for people not to get hurt on. And that's where we should go. And that's how I feel about the funding. So the number I would support is the town council's number. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So the town manager, if we vote for $370,000, which I'm against, number one, and we put it into an account and on a holding pattern, and we accrue it or accumulate enough for the 1.233 in however many years, how does that affect taxes if ultimately we decide not to do this project, number one? And number two, I'm very concerned about the state money because you don't know when it's ever going to get swept. And I agree with Representative Powers. It's all or $25,000 at this point. Thank you. I'm just concerned about the state money, and even if we do this incrementally, are we going to lose out on the state money?
Thank you. Representative Baker,
I was,
or do you want a question?
I was requesting a response from the town
Okay.
manager. If we do this
Sorry.
incrementally. Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of it, if how the taxes would be affected if we didn't proceed, well, you collected the taxes, it would be released eventually, whether it's 5 years or earlier, then it would remain in the capital projects budget. You could use it for future projects. So you'll spend it one way or another, but
So in a perfect world,
Yeah.
the taxes won't go down because because you'll use that money for something else.
right. And I don't think we're looking at accumulating money year by year. I think with this, what you would do is you would come back and just budget the remaining for the grant itself, for the bridge dollars itself. So you're not really looking at doing CIP dollars every year to accumulate.
So we would be able to do that this year if it comes to pass?
Yeah, you could do it mid-year. If we came to an agreement with Stonington and right, and they funded their portion.
Can I ask what your thoughts are on the 370?
Plead the fifth, Cindy says.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Baker?
I would just add that I think you all make very excellent points.
Representative Baker?
In the book, it's the 1,233,000 or the $25,000. Where did this $370,000 come from?
Representative Baker, the number is because there's a calculation. It was assumed going into the CIP that the number would be split equally between the town of Groton and the town of Stonington. However, there's actually an algorithm used which is related to I guess property values or something. Mr. Burke can correct me, but it meant that the town of Groton had a slightly larger share of the repair of this bridge, which Mr. Burke is estimating between 350 and now 370.
But then at the bottom of page 218, it says town of Stonington, $318,000. Local bridge program, $597,000.
That's the state money. That's the money that the
Oh,
state
that's
puts
the
forth.
state money.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
Representative
That's all.
Washington? Representative Washington? Representative Washington, you're muted.
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. I have to say, thank God we didn't go through the whole budget because we would have been here all day. I have to agree with Representative Powell's. I'm only supporting the $25,000 until we can meet with the Stonington people and come up with an agreement on how we're going to proceed. I think all this is just useless, that we should just go with the 25,000, get a committee together like Representative Flax has said. Let's talk about it, how we're going to proceed, and then put the money in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Gauthier Lauren?
Yeah, I feel like we're just getting back to the spirit of the original question, which was to move the whole number. So I would just like to move the question if that's possible and take the vote on this number and move forward.
Second, Adam.
We have a motion to end debate. Hang on, we gotta silence all you guys. Please put mute on. It really is problematic. We have a motion to end debate by Representative Gauthier, and that was seconded, I believe, by Representative Baker. Is that correct?
No, but I will second it.
No, it was seconded by me, Adams.
Adams, sorry, by Representative Adams. Please put yourself all on mute. There's an echo and it makes me unable to have cognitive thoughts. So this is not debatable. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Okay. Adams?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Cassieri,
No.
Chase,
No.
Cologne,
Yes.
Crocker Hubbard, Crockett Hubbard, okay, I'm gonna skip her. Dean Shinbrot,
Yes.
Representative Hubbard.
There you go.
Representative Hubbard is here.
Okay, what,
Yes.
thank you.
Dean Shinbrot was yes.
Okay, DeSilva Fleming,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Flax,
No.
Fortner,
Yes, please.
Foster,
No.
Frickman,
Yes.
Gothier David,
Yes.
Gothier Lauren,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Hanscom,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Katowski,
No.
Lambert,
No.
Luck,
Aye.
Mello Miller.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mello Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Merritt,
Yes.
Powers, Kristen,
Yes.
Powers, Sean,
Yes.
Richards,
No.
Rusk,
Yes.
Twenty-two. Silva, Silva,
He had to leave, I
oh,
think. I
uh,
think,
Osman left.
well, he said he might have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay.
Maybe he has left. He had emailed me before that he had work duties today.
Okay, Stevenson,
Yes.
Thomas,
No.
Washington,
Yes.
Wells,
No.
Whitehouse,
No.
Whitney, oops, Whitney's not here. Evan,
Yes.
okay, 25 yes, 10 no.
So that motion passes. I'm going to use the moderator's discretion to recognize two people before we move to the vote, as per our new rules. The first is Town Councilor Bordelon, and the second will be Representative Foster. 1 minute, there's a 1 minute time limit on speech, and I'm going to time it. Thank you. Town Councilor Bordelon, is it possible to get her access to speaking? She's in the attendee section.
Okay, she's on.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just wanted to say that, I was in support of funding this bridge and that I felt that the 25,000 was adequate. It's a little bit frustrating as to how you guys got to where you are. It seems to me that you guys are already moving along. I do not feel that we should support the 370, considering the fact that there's a little unanswered questions here. There's some questions that we haven't answered. So voting on something that we do not know anything about and can't fully today talk about seems a little not the best practice. With that being said, we formed other committees in the town where, I know an opinion had come forward, and mine is solely just another opinion, that have come forward that we did not have money up front to form. So having money and allowing taxpayers to pay that expense right now does not change the strength.
Representative Town Councilor Bordelon, please wrap it up. Your
That
minute
being
is
said,
over.
if we're so willing to put this much money forward and have taxpayers pay on it, there's other items in the town that this money could be used for and use this year to fix problems like Northeast Academy's air quality control issues.
Thank you.
That's why I'm not in support of sitting on money. I'm in
Thank you.
having committee go forward, having all counselors involved, and moving forward.
Town
with
Councilor Bordelon, we have agreed on a 1 minute limit.
Plan.
We have a 1 minute limit for speech after the debate has ended, and it's already past that by a half a minute. So I'm gonna go to Representative Foster.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And I don't mean any disrespect to this body or to the mayor, but we've already voted on this, and I just am. It's a little frustrating that this body has already made a decision on this number, and we're putting forth the same number again. I just feel like it's disrespectful to the members of this body to go through this exact same number again, and I don't understand the point. So thank you.
Thank you. I think at this point, a debate has ended. We're going to go to a roll call vote on 370,000. Town Clerk McCousher.
Ready? Adams?
We're voting on the 370,000, correct?
That is correct.
My vote is no.
Bailey?
No.
Baker?
No.
Casper?
Yes.
Kasari?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
Cologne?
Could you come back to me?
Crockett Hubbard?
No.
Dean Chinbrot?
No.
DeSiller Fleming?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Flax?
No.
Fortner?
No.
Foster?
No.
Frickman?
No.
Gothier David?
No.
Gothier Lauren?
No.
Gustafson?
Yes.
Hanscom?
Yes.
Jones?
No.
Gutowski?
No.
Lambert?
Yes.
Luck?
Aye.
Mello Miller?
Yes.
Merritt?
No.
Powers Kristen?
No.
Powers Sean?
No.
Richards?
No.
Rusk?
No.
I'm here.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Thomas?
No.
Washington? Washington?
No.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Cologne?
No. Salva's here. I'm a no.
Oh, okay, thank you, Salva. Eben?
No.
Okay, that's 12 in favor, 24 opposed.
That motion fails, 12 in favor, 24 opposed. We have another number on the floor, and that number is 25,000. Could we please have a roll call vote on that?
Yes. Adams?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Baker? 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 Okay, I'll come back to her. Casper?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, Kasari?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Cologne?
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard?
Yes.
Baker Beck?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dean Shinbrad,
Yes.
DeSiller Fleming,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Flax,
Yes.
Fortner,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Frickman,
Yes.
Gothier David,
Yes.
Gothier Lauren,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Hanscom,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Luck,
Aye.
Mello Miller,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Powers, Kristen,
Yes.
Powers, Sean,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Rusk,
Yes.
26.
Salva's a yes.
Salva's a yes. Oh, you're here.
Eben is a yes too.
Oh, I haven't gotten to you
Oh,
yet.
okay, sorry.
I'm still, I was at Rusk at 28 and Salva's 29. Stevenson,
Yes.
30. Thomas,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Whitehouse,
Abstain.
and Evans a yes. 24. 34 in favor and 2 abstentions.
34 in favor, no nay, 0 nays, and 2 abstentions. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That motion carries $25,000 for the North Stonington Bridge. I believe that is what we need to vote on, unless there is a desire to have Ms. Landry run the appropriate amount. I don't believe it changes because this is the town council number. So I believe our first vote is sufficient.
Yep, we're all set.
That's it, you're done.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Salva second.
Second.
I heard a motion to adjourn from Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Salva. Please mute yourselves. I don't think we need a roll call vote on this, so I'll just ask all in favor. Please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. This annual budget meeting for the FYE 2021 is adjourned. Thank you all for spending half of your Saturday on this call. I appreciate your service and fortitude, so thank you.